Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thursday Night Action here on the P1 Broadcasting Channel. It is the Blackmagic Studios Grand National Series live from the Bristol Motor Speedway in the mountains, eastern Tennessee, the Virginia border. Sam, Crow, and I are here to bring you all the action. And Sam, I think the people are going to enjoy what we've got for them tonight. 300 laps of Blackmagic Studios Grand National Series action.
Jet fighters,
Gymnasium,
washing machine,
jet fighters in a washing machine. Jet fighters in a
or it could turn into frogs in a blender.
You know, it could, and I think I've seen both of those races here at Bristol.
Only drivers tonight.
Yeah, I think I've seen both of those, and I think I've seen both of those in person at Bristol. Of course, the reference is a play on Eddie Cheever's Jet Fighters in a Gymnasium, which refers to Indy cars at Richmond. Jet fighters in a washing machine refers to Bristol, and that is because this track is very much like driving inside of a bathtub.
There's no question.
It is very steeply banked. You cannot see one end of the corner from the other, and that does lead to some tremendous action around this half mile. At one point, Sam, it was billed as the world's fastest half mile, was it not?
At one time, of course it was. There was no other track that could offer the speeds in such a short amount of distance that was built in the United States, and it really is. It is still actually one of the fastest tracks in regards to other divisions like open wheel super modifieds have run here and run blistering laps at this particular track. They have set records. It's an incredible facility. It is amazing to watch races here. It is fantastic to see how strategies play out at this particular venue. And as a driver, a lot of drivers really like to come here and test their skills. And iRacing, in my opinion, iRacing has done a good job of giving this track a little something extra than what we have seen in real life, so to speak, because it does have a definitive upper and lower line, and sometimes you can get some really good racing depending on how well the drivers save their tires.
Yeah, and Bristol is one of those tracks that does eat the tires. There are two distinctive lines. Of course, the track has been redone on several occasions. The most recent renovation of this storied facility made the corners progressively banked. At one point, they had been noted to be as high as 30 some odd degrees, Sam, something like that.
32, yeah, 32.
They chopped the banking down to 28, but they made it progressive, so it's 24 degrees on the bottom, 28 on the top. It is not quite as steep as similar half miles, and there are two of those in Indiana, one in Winchester and one in Salem. If you ever want to see something wild, Sam, go watch wingless sprint cars at Winchester. They're nuts. But
they are nuts, and is there any 10-foot section of that racetrack that does not have a bump in it?
There is not, but it is both of those facilities storied in the Midwest. This one, though, eastern Tennessee. I
can't imagine racing a sprint at Winchester. I just can't.
It's pretty wild, and anybody wants to check that out, go look at some old Thursday Night Thunder action from ESPN. Here at Bristol, the outright track record is held by David Gravel, and I'll give you a guess as to the lap time. This is on dirt, Sam. So the outright track record is on dirt, not pavement. What do you think the lap time is?
That's a good question. Because are you sure the official fastest lap is on dirt at this racetrack?
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and this one isn't listed because they don't recognize the World of Outlaws dirt race in the Wikipedia article. But I hold in my formerly nicotine stained hands, Sam Crow, the fastest lap ever turned at Bristol. David Gravel, World of Outlaws, wing sprint, 13,672, 138.5 miles an hour. That's on dirt. On dirt. The outright track record. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The NASCAR Cup record on pavement, Kyle Larson, 14.945. The late model record is Stuart Friesen. He set it at 16.574. The dirt track record here for NASCAR Cup, I'll give you 2 guesses as to who's got the fastest lap on dirt in a Cup car here.
2 guesses. Is it NASCAR? Is it in one of the 3 divisions of NASCAR?
Yeah, so it would be the NASCAR Cup side.
Oh, just the Cup car.
Just the Cup car. 19.261 is the time. I'll give you 3 guesses, Sam.
Fastest Cup car.
You should only need 1.
Really, Kyle Larson?
Oh heck yeah, it's Kyle Larson. He's got the fastest lap on. He's got the fastest lap on dirt in a stock car here. 19.261. Did that in 2002 at the Food City Dirt Race. I've been to this track several times, Sam. I'm pretty sure you have, too. Yeah, it's a fun place to come to a race. As you can see, fans, from the aerial here, it's like being inside of a giant, almost like a giant football stadium. Is the only thing I can compare it to. Like if you've been to a football game at like a big time college, Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State. It's like
they have had football games in the infield.
Yeah, they have. Most recently, Virginia Tech and Tennessee, right?
Right.
But it's like being in one of those things, except much, much, much bigger. The other part is my tickets were always on the backstretch, and I hated this when I was much younger because our tickets are on the backstretch, and you have to walk up the side of a mountain to get to the backstretch grandstands. Or at least you used to, unless they've shaved that off too, Sam. But at the bottom of the hill was always the Winston tent where you could go get free cigarettes, and then you had to walk about what seemed like 17 miles straight up to get to your seat. And then that only dumped you out on the bottom. You had to climb the grandstand the rest of the way. Winston's.
You didn't need to be a smoker climbing those stairs for sure.
No.
Oxygen would be required halfway.
free Winston's. Now go climb a mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
The AMA series here did come here last year. James Hodgson won the closest American Motorsports Association race ever at this race right here last year. This is the midpoint of the first half of the season. So there are 2 halves of the regular season. We're going to lock in 6 in 5 more races. So we've got 5 down, 5 left. This is the midway point until we lock 6 of them in. Right now, those drivers that are looking at playoff spots, Greg Evans with 3 wins. Kyle Heath has 2 wins, but he does need to make the remainder of the races in order to be locked in. Can't miss more than 3. Kendall Paul, Edwin James, and Michael Moquin have all won. Right now, Adam O'Brien is 2 points to the good on the cut line. Ryan O'Donohue is the 2 points back. Dylan Godnez is 20 points back. And just to kind of let you guys know, we do have some new rules here for the AMA Blackmagic Studios Grand National Series. Sam, kind of tell our fans what the stewards have come up with.
In respect of rules, there is a tire limit set for all of these races. In this particular race, there'll be 1 set of tires on the car, of course, and then they will have 4 additional sets after the fact to run the event with. In my opinion, that should be plenty of tires to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Track position in this particular instance will be very important, so I don't see drivers pitting very often on short caution period times, just simply because they want the track position and because it'll be so difficult to pass. Of course, you're mostly cloudy today at 71 degrees. The track temps at 93. Those are not too bad numbers in order for grip. The wind's west at 8 miles per hour, and it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day for some racing.
Most certainly is. I was going to refer as well. They are going to go to a points system for the cause of the caution, and so that'll be new in the AMA series here. But Sam, the stewards have introduced that to just kind of see if we can't clean up some of the yellows that we've had previously. So there'll be penalties, kind of on a graduated system. They'll start off with end of the longest line, drive-throughs, 1 lap holds at the beginning of the race. But guys are going to want to watch their P's and Q's. You don't want to build up those points, Sam.
I agree with you in every respect of what you said, Mark. The thing about the point system and trying to regulate what's happening on the track, anytime that you start a league and you begin to bring in an influx of drivers like the AMA has done in their recruiting, they've done a great job recruiting, and they have a class field of drivers here in the AMA, but you have so many drivers and full fields with different driving styles, and these drivers are not used to driving with one another, and so it takes a little time, and in that time there's a plethora of cautions that you may have to deal with. So in order to try to help decision making be a little bit easier for these drivers, this point system kind of gives them an opportunity to police themselves, to tell themselves, okay, I have this penalty against me. I don't want to do this again. I want to stay in the race. I need to make better decisions, so to speak. It only will enhance the racing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same for me. We're watching Logan Edwards as he takes his qualifying run. He goes to the top of the board very briefly before he's supplanted by Kendale Paul. Let's jump and we'll have a look at Brian Sharp. And this will give everybody a look at kind of what it's like to ride here around Bristol. Here's Brian Sharp. He's got Papa Smurf on the dash, and he'll go to 13th quick. Greg Evans, he'll snatch the pole position provisionally. Looking for Justin Osterman. Here's Justin.
Oh, there's some cloud cover. There's cloud cover coming over the racetrack. That's going to cool the racing surface, a little more grip.
It's the golden cloud, Sam. And here's Osterman. He crosses the line 15.669. That is going to put Justin Osterman in 17th position. He's on his second lap. And we'll see the 53 stop the electronic eye clock at 15.609. So he's going to improve just a little bit, but it doesn't improve his position. How about Donald Green? Let's have a look at the number 6. How about that, Sam?
Donald has been so excited. He's had a rough go of it the last couple of weeks. But Donald has got the best attitude about wanting to come back each week and have a good race. So we're looking forward to Donald doing just that.
We are. Logan Edwards checking into the chat. Good to see you, Logan. That's an open wheel guy trying his hand at stock cars, and he's been very, very quick in these things. Donald Green is also checked in the chat. We are watching him live here as he makes his qualifying attempt. And then you've got David Dunwoody, Andy Dunwoody, our good friend from Black Magic Studios. He's taking the night off, Sam, to watch the Phillies and the Braves as we see Donald Green go for a slide through 3 and 4. And so that's going to put paid to his qualifying effort. How about
any contact with the wall will eliminate your time.
We'll get on board with Sean Merriman here. Andy Dunwoody is off. He's off watching the Braves and the Phillies. He informs me that they're tied 1-1. And Sam, there is nothing more that I'd like better to see other than a great race tonight than the Atlanta Braves beat the Philadelphia Phillies by 74 runs.
Okay, there's no bitterness there, none whatsoever.
You know, when Andy, of course,
I'm a Cubs fan, so I could stand to see the Phillies lose as well.
Andy, of course, longtime friend and sponsor of mine, but we disagree when it comes to baseball. We'll say that. Mike Rigney, he's here. Best results.
Yeah, I saw Mike pop up into the chat. It's always a pleasure, Mike, to have you with us. Certainly enjoyed watching your race on Monday night. Mark Murphy was a participant in that. You guys put on quite a show in the ISRA.
You know, we did, and that's always a fun series to drive in. He says, the best result he's ever seen from a penalty policy like that, drive right or do it somewhere else. I think that's kind of the point. But we're having a good night, Mike, and we're glad to have you along for the ride, brother. We do have an awesome audience already building for this one, Sam. Already nearly 20 people lined up to view the AMA action. Do want to just let everybody know that you still can like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. That is free. We are closing in on 1,000 subscribers, and that is hugely important. Not only because it makes Kyle Clinworth do extra work in repainting his IndyCar, but it also moves us up in the YouTube algorithms, and it gets us a little bit of change from YouTube, and we definitely appreciate everybody who does that. You'll also get notified every time we go live so that you can see wonderful iRacing action like the American Motorsports Association Blackmagic Studios Grand National Series. Sam, we are just about done with qualifying. Michael Moquin is on the track. He's currently 10th quick. He's going for a second lap. He will end. Yeah, he's going to have to hurry. He's got 3. Now watch, if he doesn't get back to the line here, they're going to kick.
There is a brief little space there.
He was that close. He did not get it. He
did not. It was so close.
He was within 20 yards of the line and didn't quite get there. So we're going to go ahead and get you the starting lineup out there, fans, because I know you want it, and we've got a doggone good field here for you. On the pole, Greg Evans, 15.113. That is pretty doggone fast here at Bristol. Kendall Paul's going to line it up second. Logan Edwards and Ryan O'Donohue, they're going to be on row 2. Trevor Benz, Adam O'Brien start 5th and 6th. Caleb Jones, Kyle Heath, 7th and 8th. Rounding out the top 10, Jeffrey Hyatt and Michael Moquin. In 11th, Jason Heaney, 12th. Brian Wasserman. Colby Pierce, he's going to be 13th. We're going to see Nolan Milnes go 14th. And Joshua Siegfried is 15th. Michael Kirk, how about him, the 54? He's going to roll in 16th. Corey Crandall is going to be 17th. Joseph Klein, 18th. Troy Carricker and Dylan Godnez are going to round out your top 20, Sam. Edwin James is going to be 21st. Keith Ayers, 22nd. Justin Osterman and Brian Sharp, 23rd and 24th. Keith Graham, Mark Owlett, 25th and 26th. 27th, Donald Green. And Sean Merriman will be 28th. None of these cars took time now. Ted Craven and Mark Cofield will roll 29th and 30th. Lee Campbell and John Hutchins, they're going to be 31st and 32nd. Brandon Bernier, Eric Corder, they're going to roll 33rd and 34th. And shotgun on the field, Sam, Braden Langley, 35 cars signed in for tonight's race.
At the moment, there are two drivers who are not currently in the server, just so folks will know. Lee Campbell and John Hutchins both are not in the server currently.
Yeah, and as they roll away, if Lee Campbell and John Hutchins do not get into the server by the time this race, well, they would be starting from pit lane now, and if they don't get in,
right now they'll start from pit lane if they come in before the green. Correct.
You got it. So.
They will release those cars as soon as the field takes the green.
They most certainly will. Got to thank Whiplash Simcams for all these pictures. This is as you'd see it looking down from the grandstand here at Bristol. Such a fine shot, such a fine angle, some fine angles they give us, Sam. I really do enjoy this, though. At the tracks they offer it, looking at it like you're in the seats is...
That's what a fan sees. That's exactly what a fan sees right there.
Yeah, this one right here is about my seat, to be completely honest about.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. There really aren't any bad seats. It's like Rockingham. There's no bad seats in this place. It's a great place to watch a race.
I don't know if I'd want to sit really low, like in the first 3 rows, because there are buildings in the infield that you can't see over.
Well, it depends on how much beer and chicken wings you brought with you.
Well, that's true. Usually we pack pretty light for Bristol just because, Sam, I don't want to have to carry it up the hill.
Green.
And just like that, we're under green here at the Bristol Motor Speedway.
What a jump by Kendall Paul.
Yep.
Did he beat him to the line?
He did, and Kendall Paul has the black flag. He is going to have to come to pit lane.
He did.
Yeah, Kendall's going to have to come to pit lane and serve the penalty. We'll get the camera right there on Kendall Paul, but my timing and scoring, Sam, it's got a black flag for the 78, and here it comes.
He's actually called out. He has to pit.
Now, don't get another one. Don't compound it. Don't speed on pit road. But there's Kendall Paul.
Oh, that's got to be heartbreaking for Kendall Paul. Oh.
It has to be an unfortunate start for Kendall Paul. Now, the good news is he's got to win. He's locked into the playoffs. He doesn't need to worry about that. He's going to have to take a drive-through, and he's going to be at
big pass for the lead here.
Yeah, you've got Logan Edwards working to the outside of Greg Evans. And Logan Edwards is going to have the spot on the deuce. That might be the first time we've seen anybody not named Kyle Heath pass Greg Evans. We've also got a car come down pit lane. That appears to be...
I have a feeling you're going to see several more passing.
Yeah, we've also got Ted Craven coming down to pit.
Oh, so close. 3 wide as Kendall Paul comes off pit lane. Wow, that was close.
Now, we did miss that because Ted Craven has come down pit lane with a blown engine. He does have the meatball, and he must respect that. And that's going to be, looks like a little bit of net code with Eric Quarter. He hits the outside wall, drops back into quarter, and then hard in the outside wall. Ted Craven has already blown the motor, and
Now
we have a caution.
We're under caution.
Hard contact for Braden Langley. He's going to get collected by the 80 of Mark Owlett. The number 6 of Donald Green also involved. We are under caution here at Bristol, 7 laps into a 300-lap event. And let's see what we've got here. I believe this is going to probably start somewhere up here. Donald Green coming off corner number 2, and he just gets it a little bit loose in the high line. He's going to collect the 18 of Sean Merriman and then back up in front of Braden Langley.
I'm getting a lot of net code here, so I'm not catching the event.
Yeah, so Donald Green essentially he came off at turn number 2 on the high side. He got it a little bit loose. We'll go ahead and show it.
Caught Sean Merriman there.
Yeah, he gets
no, I'm sorry.
He gets a little bit loose and he comes down the track.
Yep.
There's
Sean Merriman.
There's big net code well, not there. I thought it might have been net code, but then he comes down the track and collects Merriman and then back up into Langley. Tough break.
Once he got into the wall, I lost sight of what was happening until the aftermath.
Gotcha.
He just completely loose on the high side and just came down on top of Sean there.
Very true. Now the mosquito repellent is coming from Ted Craven there. Braden Langley and Sean Merriman do have meatballs. The number 6 of Donald Green does not, and so he does have the option to fix as much or as little as you want. Now, I don't think you'd want to take tires this early, Sam, but you definitely might want to come in and get some of that baby fixed.
No, if you have damage, it doesn't hurt. However, even the caution laps go pretty quickly here. If you have damage, you want to get it fixed, then a lot of cars in the back would go ahead and get that damage fixed, or as much of it that they can. If you're running up front, if you're running the top 15 or so, you don't want to pit here. It's way too early, less than 10 laps. You want to make sure that you maintain your track position here. It's just so incredibly hard to pass, and you don't want to burn your stuff up trying to make those passes. So you just really want to maintain that track position for sure.
Very true.
In regards to the point system, too, you have to take into consideration now that Donald Green is now he has this. He's the first one that's going to be implemented into this point system that they've laid out.
There you go. Now, we've got Mike Rigney chiming in the chat. He says that memory serves him correctly. The last 3 races have been Martinsville, Darlington, and Bristol.
You are correct.
You are correct. We'll pop the schedule up.
We call it the trifecta of terror.
It is Martinsville, Bristol, Darlington, and we're gonna have a superfecta next week, Sam, because we're gonna go to Rockingham. And then Talladega. So there's no rest for the weary here.
Just think about how we started the season. We started the season at Daytona and Atlanta,
and Circuit of the Americas.
Then we get a little bit of a reprieve at COTA, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. But it's just, and of course, Homestead. But there is no rest for the weary in this league for sure.
There are not. We are back under green flag action. We were watching to see if the machine of Donald Green was going to come down pit road. He did not, and that's kind of a deal here. If you're in the back and you need to come down pit road and get damage fixed, you're not going to be there very long. You might only be sitting in your pit box for 15 or 20 seconds. Adam O'Brien, he's going to drop to the inside of Logan Edwards. O'Brien to the bottom, and he is going to take the lead. Greg Evans, he's going to try to follow through in second, but no, Evans gets loose on the bottom. He'll lose a spot to Ryan O'Donohue back to 4th.
I think some of these drivers this week are probably going to be a little bit more meticulous and cerebral about their passing, and not be as aggressive. We have some drivers in this race and in this series who are very good at pushing the car, but I think in this particular instance you may see some of them being a little bit more careful about how they make their passes.
Most certainly so. There you're watching Ryan O'Donohue. He's working to the bottom of Logan Edwards. Edwards up on that high side. Now the high side here can be very useful in defending because it is higher banked up there, and you get some really good runs down the front straight, but you never know what guys are doing in terms of saving tires. The right rear here, we've been told from the chat, is going to be...
We got a spinner off of 2. They're crashing on the backstretch.
That's Nolan Milnes involved. You've got the 12 of Caleb Jones involved.
Yeah, Caleb, just like Donald Green, he gets up on that high side, and the rear of the car comes around right in front of the 1. And then it's just cars trying to avoid the chaos after that.
Yeah, we're looking at the 12 of Caleb Jones. Here he is. He's on the high side. He's got the 0 underneath him. And just around the back comes, and nowhere from Nolan Milnes to go hard into the side of the 12.
An opportunity for him to try and give the car on the low side as much room as possible. But he gets on those, it's in that really light area on the top side, and it's between the top line and the bottom line, and the rear end will come around on you. And of course, the 1 had nowhere to go, absolutely nowhere to go.
No, you're absolutely right, Sam. Do kind of want to key in a little bit on what Sam Crow was saying. The marbles, and they are in effect here. You see that dark strip up there at the top? I bet if we jump on board with Adam O'Brien, let's get on his roll bar, and you can see it. Now, past all that flashes Kendall Paul, that's going to put Kendall Paul back on the lead lap. But you can kind of see the buildup already starting up next to that wall. That is slick stuff, Sam.
Well, they're called marbles because you'll slide around on them and fall and get hurt if you're not careful. Braden Langley is actually just checked out of the event. Was he involved in that last incident?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. He's 11 laps.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
He's 11 laps down, so he was. You know what, Sam? He's been on.
He may have been involved in the first.
Yeah, he was in the first one. He hasn't left pit road, so my guess is he's decided to give up the repair. Brandon Bernier sits on pit road with a meatball. He must respect that. Sean Merriman is still in his car on pit road under repair. We saw Colby Pierce get a piece of that last accident as we ride along with the pace car. We're going to get ready to go back to green here, Sam. And this is going to be...
double file going down the back stretch.
Yep. We'll follow along with the 87 Blackmagic Studios machine of Adam O'Brien. He's got the inside, the preferred line. Ryan O'Donohue is second. Edwards and Evans. The Killer E's going to be on row 2. Green. Here's the green, and away we go. The number 6 of Donald Green is coming off of pit road.
Yep, we have a Donald Green. It looked like someone behind him. No, actually, that was the pace car. So,
yep.
We happened to look on Ryan O'Donohue with another one of his very thoughtful schemes that he brings to every event. It seems like he has once again brought his talent to the paint booth.
Yeah, he's got it now. He's got a very talented Logan Edwards directly to his inside. The camera that we're using is interrupted there by the Jumbotron, making it even more like a football stadium. But if we zoom out, we're going to see the number 13 of Kyle Heath. He's working to the inside of Ryan O'Donohue. Heath to the bottom, and he's going to pick up 4th spot. It looks like to me, Sam, the bottom is the preferred way around here, at least in the early going.
There are a lot of drivers that love to ride the high line because it generates so much speed coming off the corners in 2 and 4. But just my experience is that high line, the desire to really get into the throttle and push the car and get those big runs, it does in my opinion, it uses the tires a little bit more. If you can get the car to settle and turn in the middle of the bottom, you can save much more tire. It'll be a more steady pace, and you won't get those big runs, but you can save tire and be there in the long run. Very
true. I think Donald Green is pulling it back onto the pit lane. He does have a black flag, so that's the reason you're seeing the 6 slow on exit. I do want to point out my favorite line here, Sam, as we look at Ryan O'Donoghue battling now with the number 3 of Trevor Benz, my favorite line around here was always to start at the top and then, run the. I call it. It almost feels like you're in a rocking chair, where you would start at the top, go to the bottom, and then come off next to the wall. I always felt like that was the way that I got around here best. You can't do that when you're side by side, though.
No, you can't. There was a time when I would run the race, and I may not have been as good at saving tires as some other drivers, maybe like a Kyle Heath or a Greg Evans. And I would run the bottom, but getting the car to turn after a long run would begin to become a little bit more problem, and you wouldn't be able to get back into the throttle as well on the bottom. And so about 2/3 through the run, I would run the car back up to the top and utilize those big runs on the top after I was getting some wear in the tire, because it would get a little pushy on the bottom, and I'd already used up too much tire. So why not go ahead and go to the top and try and maintain as much speed as you could?
Good point. Checking in right now with Brian Wasserman. He runs along in 8th. He's just been passed by Michael Moquin, so Moquin up 3 spots from his starting spot at 10th. Do want to go back and check out Kendall Paul, and the reason that we want to check out Kendall, he lost 2 laps with a drive-through. That's the outside pole sitter. He at one,
already back up to 19.
And we got Justin Osterman spinning
on the back stretch. It looks like Justin Osterman loses it on the back stretch.
We have indeed. Justin Osterman has gone to the inside of the Speedway. Caution is out, and let's see what's happened with.
He's all by himself. He's all by himself as he comes off the bottom on 2 and just loses the back of the car.
Yeah, we'll have a look at it, Sam. Here he comes. That's across the start-finish line. He's going through turn 1 here. Thank you, Mike. It is good racing once it gets going. It is, it's early stages at Bristol, and these things do tend to have some cautions early. We anticipate that that'll straighten up a little bit later. Big blink for Justin Osterman as he brings the car around. But it was, I think the fans at home kind of get the gist of it. It was big loose before it got there. There he is.
Started breaking loose.
Yeah.
Of course, he disappears from the server for a second, but he had already locked the brakes down at that point, and just slowly began to slide down the back stretch. And of course, he's still on the racing surface whenever he gets to a certain mile per hour, and that brings out the caution.
Now, in the midst of all that, Greg Evans has taken the lead back from Adam O'Brien. Kyle Heath is 3rd, and so the top 3 in points, 1, 2, 3. In 4th position is Ryan O'Donoghue. Of course, he's battling Adam O'Brien for the final spot on points, and so O'Donoghue having a wonderful run right here. But hot dog it if the guy is not chasing, it's 2 spots in front of him.
There's going to be a whole lot of chasing before this race is over.
Yes, sir. We are not yet. We are just now 10% done with the event. The lights are still on the pace car. We have not yet formed up in our rows of 2. Nolan Milnes has come back to pit road. Mark Allett is on the pit lane, as is Caleb Jones. Those cars are going to try to get some damage repair. Fuel is not a concern here at Bristol, is it, Sam?
No, sir, it really isn't. It's not. With full tanks, I know some leagues will run 3/4 of a tank or something like that, but with full tanks, their fuel really shouldn't be a concern unless there is a point in the race where drivers may all come in at a critical stage to get fresh tires at a caution, thinking that they would get a long run, and if you by chance get that long run, it falls in line with that lap. So it's a big if. It's just a big if.
Very true. Now remember, we've got stage break at 60 and another at 120, and so drivers are going to have ample opportunity to bring their machines down the pit lane. Meanwhile, the field
those stage breaks, there's nobody going to be pitting often.
Yeah, I wouldn't think at the first one. They might at the second, just because you should be able to make it from the second. Anyway, lights are out on the pace car. Field is under the control of Adam O'Brien. Barney waves the green flag, and the race is back underway.
Well, we're going to have a race up front now with Kyle Heath up here. Adam O'Brien's not going to go quietly. You've still got drivers up there like Ryan O'Donoghue who is also proved to be a front runner in every event that he shows up at.
Adam O'Brien shoots his car to the high side. He wants the lead back from Greg Evans, and O'Brien is going to get that done on the top. So move Adam O'Brien up to the lead. Evans back to second. Kyle Heath is third. There's O'Brien fourth. Trevor Benz has made his way back to fifth. Logan Edwards lies sixth. And how about Michael Moquin very quietly has made his way to seventh.
I've been watching Michael. Michael's always he's always an exciting driver to watch in these races. He's never afraid to push the car, push the envelope. And I've noticed even in line that he is really
Cautions on the Speedway.
Really pushes that car hard on entry.
We've got caution. It's the 21 of Brandon Bernier has gone around. So here's Brandon. He's racing along with the number 80 machine of Mark Allett. They basically just come together off of turn 4, and around they go. The 12 of Caleb Jones is also going to be collected in that.
Right, he's just a bystander in the middle of that.
Yeah, so there's the caution. We're going to get back live.
That 21 gives me that old Larry Pearson vibe.
You know, it does. Let's get back to Brandon Bernier. I was going to say, you know, either the... you said Larry Pearson. I was thinking more I was thinking more David in the original Chattanooga Chew car.
Yeah, they both had Chattanooga Chew as a sponsor, and so it just really at some of the local events here in the Hickory area, Larry Pearson would drive cars like that.
Well, didn't Larry take over the family car once Dad had given up driving?
Larry did have a brief stint where he was involved. Yes, he did.
I was going to say I can't recall I don't believe he drove very much at the Cup level. Now certainly he was a longtime competitor in this series, now the Xfinity series. But I don't.
Yeah, no, he drove in the Cup level. He did in the late '80s. He drove for his own team, Pearson Racing. He raced for them.
Gotcha.
And that was in the late '80s. So he had a stint where he probably ran close to eight or 9 years in the Cup Series, off and on.
Now wasn't there a race was it Daytona where he was complaining his foot was burning, so he came in for a pit stop and he exchanged shoes with David, if I'm recalling that correctly?
Now that I don't recall. The greatest shoe story that I know outside of, not to segue what you're going to, was just Dave Marcus and his Brogan. Your
wingtips, yeah. Hey,
but I didn't hear anything about Larry Pearson's shoe story. But that's not unusual for drivers to get the hot foot.
No. If I remember right, they interviewed David, and he had not retired from racing not too much before that. And he was working the pit box for his son, and they showed David, and he had one racing shoe that was burned up on one foot and a sneaker on the other.
That's great.
Back to live action.
Larry's actually really good. I mean, he wasn't a bad driver in the what is now the Xfinity Series.
No,
because he had multiple wins in that particular series.
Yeah, was not a bad driver. He's one of those guys that was really good in the second level, but never seemed to get that upper echelon Cup ride that would have made him, that might have vaulted him to superstardom. And of course, it probably doesn't help when your dad is the second most winningest driver of all time either.
Tremendous driver. Larry Pearson was a phenom. For what he could do, winning that many races on a part-time schedule.
Yeah, David.
The man very rarely raced full seasons.
Yeah, the only time that David Pearson really drove a full-time schedule was driving for Cotton Owens. In those years, he won championships, and then when the time he spent with the famed Wood brothers, they only ran the super speedways, and so you would not see the 21 at short tracks like Bristol. Now they did run Martinsville because that was their home race, right?
Yes, sir.
But other than that, he did not make appearances at tracks shorter than a mile, essentially. And the reason being, it didn't pay to show up. The purses, even up through the early 90s, at places like Martinsville and Bristol and North Wilkesboro, were tiny in comparison to what you get. It's Kendall Paul falling back through the field, and I'm trying to get a hold of him. There he is, and we'll see what's going on with Kendall Paul. Here he is. He's in between the number 7 of Joseph Klein and the 08 of Dylan Godnez. And let's what have we here?
Looked like Kendall was about to make a move on the bottom of Dylan Godnez, and just at the last, he started to go inside him at the last second. Dylan really drove it in there. I'm not going to say it's either one's fault. It's just that Dylan Godnez went his natural line, and Kendall was trying to fill that line. So they made contact there, and that's what caused the spin.
No real harm, no foul.
Because Kendall wasn't there when Dylan was making his entry, so he had every right to make his entry the way he did.
Yeah, he most certainly did.
Kendall just got too close.
A racing incident, if there ever was one. The answer to the question...
Yes, absolutely.
The answer to the question, by the way, is for Larry Pearson, 3 top 10s in 57 Cup starts, 15 wins in 259 Xfinity races.
Yeah, I knew he won quite a few in the Xfinity series.
To go with 11 poles, most of those for the family team. There were other times he made starts for Darrell Waltrip and others, but the last full-time season for Larry Pearson was actually was driving for Buckshot Jones, which is kind of funny because
that's interesting.
Well, it's kind of funny because if you listen to Buckshot, the Pearsons were like his mentors. There was a great interview of Buckshot Jones on the Dale Jr. Download where they went over his affiliation with the Pearsons. He said he learned to drive Darlington from David hauling him around in a rental car.
The man was a master at that racetrack.
Yes, but I don't know if there's enough money you could pay me to get into a rental car with David Pearson at Darlington. But that's how they used to do it.
Safer than in your mama's arms. If he was behind the wheel, you could guarantee
probably
you'd be safer than in your mama's arms.
Probably. The story goes that they came back and
wheel a car. There's just no two ways around it. And wrecking was not something that David Pearson did a lot of. He didn't cause wrecks, or was he involved in wrecks if he could help it?
No, and a lot of those guys.
He had a skill of saving the car.
Well, and a lot of those guys back in those days weren't. And the reason being is that unless you were Richard Petty or David Pearson and had a big team behind you, you had to fix it yourself.
Oh, no question. There was a lot of money that was tied up in the sponsorship. Money would not cover. It would cover the general expenses, but not torn up race cars week in and week out. No one wants to cover that expense. Right?
Yeah, and so unless you drove, for one of those big teams, Junior Johnson or somebody like that, you were driving the family bank, and it did not pay to tear those cars up. And most of those guys, and it's like that even up through high level USAC stuff. Those guys don't like to tear their stuff up either. Because usually it's the driver owns it and he's got a buddy that works on it with him, and you crash a sprint car now, that's $60,000 you probably don't have. Meanwhile, we're watching the front. You are shocked to note that Greg Evans is leading, and he's got Kyle Heath filling the rear view mirror.
I wonder how long. I think Kyle's setting him up. I don't think Kyle's going to want to run there for long. I was listening right before the last caution. I was listening under the caution, and it was really interesting to hear Greg Evans and Adam O'Brien having a conversation about. They were really racing hard up front. Adam was racing the high line, and Greg was on the bottom. And and Greg was wanting to make sure that Adam was okay with the room he was getting, and I mean being very respectful. And Adam says, "I'm loving it. Close racing." He says, "I am all about it. I am loving this."
Man, caution is out.
Oh, caution on the racetrack.
So Brian Wasserman has come to grief here on the at the inside of the backstretch. He's racing along there with Michael Moquin, so he would have been running, somewhere in the back half of the top 10 here. Moquin is currently 6th, so he would have been 7th on the road at this point.
Wasserman was in 7th at the time of his self-spin.
Yeah, he just comes off of turn number 2, and around she goes. Turn number 4, actually. Around she goes.
Just maybe too much wheel input at that point, a little too much throttle. You said it at the beginning of the race, is that if you're not careful, you can really abuse that right rear. We've got 65 laps on these particular. Some drivers have 65, 66 laps on these tires, and so that right rear could be getting hot and getting a little worn. So it's very possible that they could, break the rear of the car loose on exit if they're using too much throttle.
Most certainly so. Do want to take this opportunity to thank all of our sponsors, Blackmagic Studios. If you need a paint in iRacing, you need your car wrapped, go ahead and scoot on over and see Andy at Blackmagic Studios. He's more than happy to help you out. It's a small 1-2-man operation, and they do high-quality work, and you can see that quality work on the side of all of my cars. And so thank you, Mr. Dunwoody, for all that you do to support me in particular. But if anybody out there is looking for some paint, Blackmagic Studios has you covered. Also want to take time to shout out the other sponsors of the league, Archway Industrial Coatings, Admin Box, Track Racer, and Rogue Energy Drink. We are under caution, working at lap 68, coming to get lap 69 here at Bristol. We do have a massive audience here once again tonight, Sam. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you have not already done so, make sure you grab the like button on the video, ring the bell to subscribe to the channel, and be notified of all future iRacing action here at the P1 Broadcasting Network. We are in our drive for 1,000, Sam. 932, I believe, 32. Was the last count.
932.
So 68 more to go. We skipped my number, which I was more than happy to give the Chief Gary Godso a little bit of cane about, but no worries there. 68 to go. So if you haven't already done it, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel. We should be about ready to get Matt going to green, Sam.
They're going double file right now as you're speaking, Mark, and the cars are getting all lined up as they come off of turn 2 down the back stretch. Kyle Heath on the outside, Greg Evans on the inside, and now they're joined by the number 3 of Trevor Benz, who has decided that he wants to rear his muscle a little bit up front. And Michael Moquin has also made his way up here in the top 10, or almost the top 5. There's a lot of these cars that are fast, and they're making their way back up to the front. And we're going green right now.
Green, green, green.
Yes, they are. There we go. Greg Evans gets the launch. Kyle Heath to his outside.
Michael Moquin misses a shift. The top line checks up. They're wrecking. Big wreck in turn 1. Big wreck.
All right, so this all starts around Michael Moquin, and let's.
He clearly must have been in the wrong gear.
Yeah, here we go. Here's the restart. Well, no, he wasn't in the wrong gear. The 3, Trevor Benz, spun the tires, and they all get
Benz
checked
may
up.
Have been in the wrong. I see. So it happened in front of Michael.
Yeah, they're all gonna get checked up, and you see the accordion.
Or did Trevor have wheel spin here?
Just right as they came to the line, and so we're gonna get.
He was. I think what you're seeing is an opportunity for Trevor to time the start and try to jump with Kyle Heath, and then he gets into the back of Kyle Heath and he loses the car a little bit, and then that checks everyone. When I actually caught eye of the incident, I just saw where Michael Moquin was slowing down so much, so I did not had noticed that Trevor had already gotten the back of Kyle Heath and really just bottlenecked behind him.
Yeah, and good eye on that, Sam. There's the fish eye, because this is about the best way that you can see the mayhem. Upper right hand corner of the track there, it gets completely blocked, and there are about 6 or 7 cars that take some damage from this one.
really the disadvantage in this is that if you're on the outside line and these cars begin to start checking up, and the green flag is flying, the response time is minimal to none. There's just no time to properly respond to cars that are checking up that fast. The further back you are, the more momentum you have going forward, and it's just almost impossible to respond and stop the car. And then even if you get slowed down enough, the guy behind you probably won't.
Yeah, and we see that.
This affected almost the entire second half of the field, honestly.
Yeah, and I apologize for calling that spin in the tires. I only caught the part on my initial pass of Trevor Benz turning to the right after contact had been made. Meanwhile, he gets
right.
They're going to line him back up. He's going to be on the inside now in 5th place on the restart. The front row is going to be Evans and Heath, O'Brien and O'Donohue. That's a pair of O's in row 2. Benz and Carricker are going to be row 3. Siegfried and Moquin, row 4. Michael Kirk, Jeffrey Hyatt, round out your top 5. Kendall Paul, just to let our fans know, he's back in the 14th position.
Green flag, green flag.
Scratching and clawing is what Kendall Paul has done from the beginning of this race. Scratch and claw.
You know, I'd have to bill you right. Sam. And sometimes it's like that when you're out here racing these things. Look at that shot, the drone right over the start-finish line.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that shot.
Yeah, we're going to watch it for a little bit. Kyle Heath, well, maybe not for long. Kyle Heath climbs to the high side. He'll go by Greg Evans. Adam O'Brien, he's going to try to follow suit and get past Evans. Heath the lead. Adam O'Brien the second. Greg Evans is going to fall into 3rd, and he's quickly going to come under fire from Trevor Benz in 4th. Whoa, Trevor Benz is going around hard contact with O'Donohue.
He collects Ryan O'Donohue. O'Donohue comes back up and saves it. Wow. Ooh. Ryan O'Donohue, everyone behind that incident is probably going to need to send a thank you card to Ryan O'Donohue.
Yeah, so there's
keep that car from coming back up the racetrack.
What a masterful job, and I think that warrants.
Wow, I don't know. That was just amazing driving. Keep that car from coming right back up in front of the field.
You know, I think that warrants a look from the cockpit of Ryan O'Donohue. This is going to be what he sees. There you see Trevor Benz. He gets sideways in front of the number 14. O'Donohue hits him. There's nowhere to go. Watch the hands. Watch the hands, Sam. Holy Moses.
And he doesn't hit the wall. He doesn't. I mean, by all rights, he should have, in that correction, he should have been coming back up the racetrack in front of the field. But the way he's working that wheel, now right here, see that extra turn? He's probably on the brakes right here, and then he's able to recorrect and keep the car down on the bottom.
Yeah, that's
some of your best driving is in instances like that. Honestly, Ryan O'Donohue just to put on a clinic of how to keep that car under control in the worst of chaos. That was great driving.
Yes, he did. My hands are not that fast, Sam. Good for Ryan O'Donohue, and he saves a ton of cars behind him. Meanwhile,
he did.
Meanwhile, we have a bunch of cars coming to pit lane. Jeffrey Hyatt is going to come to pit lane. Owlett, O'Donohue, Milnes, Wasserman, Godnez, Joseph Klein, Trevor Benz. They are all going to hit pit road. We see the 42 of Colby Pierce. That one is wounded, 19 laps down. Just so that fans know who that is. He's running a very special scheme this evening. That's a tribute to the old AC Delco Xfinity cars. Good-looking hot rod. It is 19 laps down, but a good-looking car nonetheless, even if it does look out on a Ford, Sam. Even if it does look out on a Ford. Kyle Heath is going to be your leader. O'Brien second. You're going to have Evans and Carricker row 2. Siegfried Moquin are going to be in the 3rd row. Graham and Kirk row 4. Heaney and Kendall Paul is now
once again. He just slowly is creeping his way up.
Say hey, Lewis Hayes has chimed in the chat, Sam.
Oh, I know Lewis Hayes is from the Croft area. He was a career fireman down in that area, and I know that he knows the Pearson family, and he has you talk about a historian. Lewis Hayes can give you about all the history that there is to know in that region, and so
Green
if
flag,
you ever
green
have questions, Lewis Hayes is the guy to talk to. He is quite the historian.
So what you're saying is, do not put me, Gary Godso, and Lewis Hayes, Lewis Hayes, in a room together.
You guys are amazing. Oh yeah, no question.
You know, he was Lewis. David Pearson was also my dad's favorite driver, and so there is a giant autographed picture of the Silver Fox in his basement, along with that's right up there with. That's right up there with Mickey Mantle and Stan Musial and Whitey Ford in his book. Oh, Brian, way loose, but he saves it.
All right, man. Caution is out.
Oh, we're
Caution
still
is
under
out.
caution.
One more caution.
Now, Kendall Paul did say at the last caution period that the next caution would dictate the stage.
Okay, so there we have it. We're going to try to figure out where this happened.
Oh no, I believe that was
Oh, that was
that
the
was
stage.
the stage. Yes.
Okay, so 86 of 300 complete. We are under caution for the stage break. The notes here that we got say that the stages were at 60 and 120. So forgive me for being a little bit slow on the uptake there, Sam. Of course, I don't have the radio active, so I cannot hear the communication. I rely on you for those things, Mr. Crow.
Well, I'm just glad to be a part of the team.
Speaking of the team, we've got.
I'm glad I can make some small contribution.
You make all the contributions. Wholesale pit stops, lap 87. Kyle Heath leads them down pit road. Florida Real Estate, he's chiming in support of his first gear racing mates. One of them leads the race. We'll see if anybody stays out. Logan Edwards is still on the speedway. Jeffrey Hyatt is going to stay out. Adam O'Brien is coming in. So just 2 cars are going to stay out on the speedway. Brian Wasserman is still out there. So we did have 3 cars, Sam, that they're gonna stay out.
They could have very well in one of those cautions. They went in and got some fresh tires. Opportunity is available that you would, in the end, you could have 1 or 2 sets of tires left, depending on how you work your strategy. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea that you might want to get that track position and stay out when the stage break comes open.
Yeah.
One thing about stage racing that, especially at a location like this, if you can get green flag laps really in a rhythm here. The thing about stage racing is that it does, as you were saying earlier, it does take the element of fuel mileage and green flag pit stops out of the equation in many regards. The only way that you can really utilize a pit stop to work to your advantage could be, as some of these first 3 drivers have done, where they may have pitted on the last caution before the stage break, which was only a couple of laps, and gotten fresh tires at that particular point so that they could make up all that track position from the rest of the field, knowing that there will be another stage break. And so that's how you utilize your pit strategy in these instances. If it weren't for the stages and we were just running straight up green to checkers, it may be a different story.
Yeah, and Logan Edwards, look, I mean, he was on pit road 33 laps ago, so he took advantage of a prior caution. Same with Jeffrey Hyatt, Brian Wasserman, Nolan Milnes. Those top 4, really, Hyatt, Wasserman, and Milnes, they've only had a couple of green flag laps on their tires, and certainly Logan Edwards has not tortured his. But Kyle Heath, he's going to be the first car on the freshies. He's going to restart here 5th.
And Logan Edwards was fast in practice. He actually passed Greg Evans early on for the lead at the beginning of the event. So he's proved that he knows how to wheel the car around this racetrack.
He most certainly has. And so, it's a chance. Mark Cofield, by the way, has punched out of the number 97. And so we are down to 28 cars on the racing surface, Sam, starting to thin out a little bit. 91 of 300 laps complete. The pace car is going to duck off. We're going to join Barney if I can find the button. He's got the green flag ready. And here they come.
All right, let's see if these drivers will settle in here. Just get into a rhythm, and let's go a stage without a caution here. Let's see if we can do it.
Green flag.
Logan Edwards with the jump. He's followed by Jeffrey Hyatt in second. The battle is going to be around Nolan Milnes, Brian Wasserman. They're side by side, and that does not help Greg Evans and Kyle Heath on those fresh tires. They have nowhere to go, Sam.
No, they have to let those two drivers settle in ahead of them because there's nowhere else for them to go.
And that's music to the ears of Jeffrey Hyatt and Logan Edwards. I know Hyatt's got the 0 on his car. That's number 31 in the scoring table. But those two want to see Milnes
All right,
and
man, caution
Oh,
is out.
we're under
Caution
caution
is out.
again.
and I do not.
Oh, we have who was that on the bottom of the front stretch? It looks like Mark Owlett. He's involved.
It is, and there's Mark, and he's got some wrinkles in that number 80 already.
And Trevor Benz is involved as well.
Yeah, it was Trevor Benz that started. It started maybe with Trevor Benz. So here we go. You've got Benz racing with the 54, Michael Kirk. He's got Joseph Klein right in front of him. And I don't think it started.
Yeah, Trevor's already spinning. Oh, and someone else is on the apron there spinning as well. 35 of Corey Crandall.
Yep. So Trevor Benz, it appears, he's going to come off of turn number 4. He's going to get just a little bit sideways, knock into the 54, and then everybody else behind them just kind of gets collected.
I see. Yeah, he loses it off of 2.
Yes,
He loses
does.
it off 2, bounces off of Michael Kirk, and then he begins to collect cars behind him.
Yep. Now, it was turn number 4 because there's the start-finish line they're crashing across.
Yes, sir.
That is you're going to hear us do that a lot tonight, fans. Not because not because Sam and I don't know what we're talking about. Not knowing what turn you're in at Bristol is a very common thing at Bristol. And just to illustrate that, we're going to get on board with I'll show it to you from the pace car. We're going to get
Well, I've taken a position on top of the press box where the spotters are, and so I know where I'm at. I am at the start finish line.
But yeah, just to kind of illustrate it, this is what you see coming off of turn number 4. And the only real differentiator between the front and the back is if you look up to the right, you can see the flag stand. Everything else looks exactly the same on both.
You're
ends of
racing on the
speedway.
track. It is very hard to distinguish where you're at.
Yes, it is. And so, if there's ever green flag pit stops here, well, even yellow flag pit stops, you got to know where you're at. Check position, look up to my right, no flag stand, I'm on the back. Because there's no difference between the two sides.
It's very hard to distinguish it when you're in the race.
Yes, it is. I'll tell you what we're going to be able to distinguish here in a minute, Sam. Let's get this thing back to green and see if we can't stay that way a while. Logan Edwards is going to lead him off. Jeffrey Hyatt second. Wasserman and Milnes make up row 2. The fresh tires have not yet gotten through that second pair.
Well, every cycle on these used tires does not hurt them. It's not like real life where they get hot, cold, and it begins to affect them as much as it is in the real races. They will cool off, but it will not mess with the integrity of the tire.
No, it doesn't. And Greg Evans has finally found his way to the inside of Wasserman, and we've got caution on the track again. That's going to be Caleb Jones around.
And once again, Caleb is in that high line and and he catches the wall. He actually comes off of two a little too high and catches the wall. And Justin Osterman just happens to be there as he bounces off of the wall. And then, of course, that leaves the 09 getting into the back of him and kind of finishing him off there because Keith Graham had nowhere to go at that particular point.
Yeah, we're watching this happen. Kendale Paul dives to the inside. Michael Moquin blinks a little bit in front of him. There's the I don't know if he ever hit it. Well, maybe he does. Just a little bit. Osterman going to the inside. Top side for Caleb Jones.
It's incredibly high off that corner.
He is, and the other thing...
It's off of two. It's off two is where you see this.
There it is. And here's the thing, you know, the transitions, especially if you're on the top here, can be very abrupt. It's not as bad on the bottom, but you do fall out of the corners here, and it is very severe on that top line due to the increased banking versus what it is on the bottom. And it'll turn you loose or flip you into that wall just in a heartbeat. And so Logan Edwards, or not Logan Edwards.
Even on the straightaways at this particular track, as you were telling us at the beginning of the broadcast, I mean, you're looking at 24 to 28 degrees of banking in the corners. Now that with this new, new configuration of the track. However, the front stretch, the transition is as much as 8 feet to 4 feet. 8 feet from the exit to the middle of the stretches. That's 4 feet of difference that transitions in height as you're coming off those corners.
Yeah, it's very abrupt, and it wants to throw you left or right depending on where you're at. The lights are back out on the pace car, and let's one more time, Sam, see if we can't get some green flag action. We're going to watch this one. Let's, you know what? Let's do it from the drone. How's that?
Go for it.
Pace car comes off the track. Green flag is out. Logan Edwards leans into the loud pedal, and he'll head into turn one. Greg Evans is going to drop underneath Jeffrey Hyatt. Evans is now in hot pursuit of Logan Edwards for the lead, and he wastes no time. Right down to the bottom in turn number 3. There goes Greg Evans. He'll go to the lead. Edwards going to fight back on the top, though, Sam.
Well, there's a lot of speed to be generated out there, but on older tires, he won't be able to put up much of a fight for long. Greg Evans knows that Kyle Heath is back there.
Yes, he does.
He knows he's coming.
He does, and he'd like for Logan Edwards and Jeffrey Hyatt to stay right where they are, which is side by side in front of Kyle Heath.
Oh, yeah, he would be thrilled if they fought for a number of laps door to door.
Yes, he would. Trevor Benz has brought his machine to the pit lane. Just for those of you keeping track at home. Big slide for Brian Wasserman. He'll get passed by Adam O'Brien. We stay green. Logan Edwards is drifting. He's trying to make like that guy that we talked about earlier, David Gravel, that's got the World of Outlaws outright track record here. He was trying to make like David Gravel on the top. I swear I was reading the side of that car coming off at turn number 4.
I'm trying to watch Trevor Benz in his pit stall. I don't see him changing tires.
No,
I'm wondering if he is serving a penalty here.
He's been there now for 22, 23 seconds. So
yeah.
either under repair or serving a penalty. One of the two for Trevor Benz. Logan Edwards is who we're watching because the battle is between Kyle Heath, Logan Edwards. Heath would love to get past Edwards and make it through here. But we also do need to talk about, Sam.
There's a lot of smoke on the infield down there. I don't know where that came from.
So there are a couple of machines that have blown engines on the pit lane, and they're still in their cars, and so the smoke doesn't.
And they're repairing. I see.
Yeah, so the smoke doesn't clear. That would be Brandon Bernier and Sean Merriman, I believe. Corey Crandall may also be in that boat. Ted Craven is finally ejected from the number 30 but he was one of those drivers. Meanwhile, they're 3 wide. Mark Ouellette.
Oh, they're catching some back markers here. Donald Green going all the way to the top into the wall. He needs to be careful there. The wall will hold him up.
Yes, he does. Let's get back and take a look at Donald Green. They're still passing him.
You get into that wall, and the glue is real. It will hold you up, and then you're taking the wheel, and you're turning as hard as you can to get off the wall, and you could lose the car if you're not careful.
Very much so. And Donald Green doing the right thing. I mean, he's doing the best he can. Same with Mark Ouellette. They're doing the best they can, stay out of the way. The difference is that they're about 2 seconds a lap slower than your leaders, and we'll get back to this battle because Kyle Heath has finally disposed of Logan Edwards, and he is all over the back of Jeffrey Hyatt.
So, when you're Kyle Heath, an experienced driver like Kyle Heath, if you get behind some cars that are battling it out on older tires like that, or even if one car is in front of you with older tires, sometimes if you know that there's still a long way to go, you can pace yourself behind them. It will help you preserve tires over the long run. Just simply because you're slowing down enough that you're saving more tire than what you normally would under full race, especially if you have speed like Kyle Heath does. So we could see Kyle actually just pacing himself behind Jeffrey Hyatt here in order to save tire. But Greg Evans is decided that he is not going to burn his down. He's going to run a rhythm here and stay with it.
Most certainly is. Lap car
all the way down to the apron of the racetrack to get out of the way.
Yeah, I was going to say you're gonna start seeing some lap cars do some desperate things to not get run over. Working lap 121 to 300. Kyle Heath is more than happy to do what he's doing right here. We're riding on his roof. He's more than happy to do what he's doing because he's also pulling away from Logan Edwards. He's up by 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, there's no pressure here as far as speed goes because those cars behind them did stay out on older tires. I think Adam O'Brien actually pitted with those leaders.
Yes, he did. So Adam O'Brien is on the same schedule. And caution is out to Michael Moquin. There's Michael Moquin. And what have we got here, Sam? I think we're going to see something pretty similar to what we've seen already.
I had mentioned early in the event before one of the cautions came out. I was talking about Michael Moquin. Michael has the unique driving style, as many drivers do, and he really pushes the car. He really drives it deep into the corner, and he's been doing that most of the night. And in this particular instance, he's behind Joshua Siegfried, and on entry into one, he just drives it in deep and misses the braking point of the 99 and just hits him and spins both of them out. He actually was apologizing to the 99. He knew that he had missed his mark.
Yeah, and there you see it from the roof cam, just a little bit too deep, and around goes the 99, around goes the 8. We're under caution lap 125 of 300. We're going to get back to the race leaders here. Moquin, Eric Corder.
Kendall Paul just barely missed that.
He barely missed it twice. But give a shout out to Kendall Paul. He's persisted. He's got 2 laps back already today. He is back up to 9th place. And so Kendall Paul,
our outside pole sitter.
Yeah.
All of these tracks that we've been to have been critical tracks about braking. Even Darlington within its own right, drivers have a tendency to go into one, and one is a little bit more, you carry a little bit more speed, you don't use as much brake, but into 3 and 4, you have to be careful because some drivers will utilize a lot of brakes. Some drivers let off early in 3 going into Darlington, but Martinsville, Darlington, of course Bristol, all these are tracks that if you're not paying close attention to the car in front of you, the driver in front of you may have a different mark than what you have. You really have to pay close attention. My goodness, are my eyes deceiving me? Our crowd gets bigger as the race goes on tonight? Is that what I'm seeing?
Your eyes are not deceiving you, Sam. 25 currently in the viewing lobby, and we do thank and appreciate all of the viewing public if you haven't done so already, and we know by YouTube analytics that about half of you haven't. Make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell to subscribe to the channel. We're in our drive for 1,000. It was 68 to go when we logged in here, and we'd like to pick up a few more. So ring the bell if you'd like to be notified of all future
Green, green, green.
iRacing action here at the P1 Broadcasting Network. The green flag is back out. Greg Evans scoots away, but Kyle Heath, this time he lined up on the inside, and he'll make quick work of Jeffrey Hyatt. Same is going to go for Adam O'Brien. Maybe.
Adam O'Brien.
Yeah, well, maybe not. Jeffrey Hyatt's fighting back effectively on the outside, Sam.
Was Jeffrey Hyatt one of the ones on older tires?
Jeffrey Hyatt is on older tires, so we're riding on board of Hyatt. We're looking off the roof. Jeffrey Hyatt has been out for 49 laps, so it's only a 7-lap difference. It's not huge. Like Logan Edwards has been out for 73 laps, so Logan Edwards has been out the longest. But there you see the battle and how close that is between Adam O'Brien and Jeffrey Hyatt. O'Brien going to fall back in line. Meanwhile, Kyle Heath is all over the back of Greg Evans.
That's a veteran move. That's a veteran move to ride very close to the car in front of you. One, you have to trust the driver that is up there, and you also have to try to trust the driver that's behind you.
Well,
but
there is
also by being that close, you're in hopes that you will push that driver into driving a little bit harder, using up more of his race car, or just to get out of your way.
Are you sure that wasn't press L1 to intimidate there? I don't know if you could intimidate Greg Evans. He's pretty unflappable, Sam.
In a race car, he is very hard to intimidate. But Kyle Heath is driving. He's back in black this week, so
he most certainly is. And speaking of back, the Interstellar 500 is back for its second running. That's going to be April 25th and 26th. Maybe we can intimidate Greg and Kyle by getting them to drive one of those spaceships, Sam. What do you say?
Actually, I saw where Greg Evans actually, just a little news item here. I did see where Greg Evans stepped into the chat of the ISRA event this week and said that he is seriously contemplating getting into the R18 and running some races.
He should. That would be absolutely tremendous. Donald Green says that his internet has decided to retire, and so he's decided to call it quits. Meanwhile, we've got trouble on the racetrack. Big trouble. Ryan O'Donoghue involved. That's the 99 of Joshua Siegfried. Whole host of good cars.
Oh, the 98 is way up the racetrack, right in front of Ryan O'Donoghue here.
Yep. So let's see what we've got going.
A lot of cars wrecking here. This one started up here with the one of Nolan Milnes. It looks like it started up here with the one.
Yep, he's racing with a 57.
Right. He and Wasterman come together.
Kendall Paul just misses it for the 14th time today.
Wasterman just washes up the racetrack and catches the left rear of Milnes. Yeah, it's so close. If you watch the line, Wasterman is right on that theme. And the one he's really just trying to hold the line and diamond the corner off a little bit, but they're just so close, way so close, and then they just start checking up behind there. The one slowed down so much off of 2 that cars behind him were closing so fast that it just couldn't. Jason Siegfried could not miss him.
No, he couldn't, and that's the reason we're under caution. We are approaching halfway in this one, Sam. 140 of 300 complete. Let's get back live and see what we've got here at the front. Nobody has decided to come to pit lane. Joseph Klein is going to be the first car that's pitted. Ryan O'Donoghue is on the pit lane. He's got damage, but those are going to be the first cars that have pitted.
Normally, in incidences like this with Wasserman and Milnes, normally this is the rule that I always like to go by, is that if you're the car that is passing, you want to make that pass as clean as you can make it. And so when you're racing that close, and you're the car that's trying to make the pass, you want to make sure that the way that I race, I always want to make sure that I give that driver on the outside as much room as I can give him. Now, if he pinches me down or closes the door on me, and the results are negative in his favor, then we'll have a discussion about it. But typically, if I'm making a pass, and there's contact in instances like that, then I'll take responsibility for it, because I want to make that pass as clean as I can make that pass.
I'm with you, Sam. You can kind of see, we're in the fisheye view. You can see the cars that are smoking on pit lane. There are 3 of them over there that are the reason for that smoke. But we're going to go back to green, Sam.
And I saw where Jeffrey Hyatt tried to get.
Whoa, Adam O'Brien spins.
Oh, and Adam O'Brien. Oh, no.
Adam O'Brien will alt F4. We will stay green. Great sportsmanship, great move from the driver.
Oh, no.
Great sportsmanship, though, and great move.
Third place in our points. Third place.
Now, I was just saying, that's great sportsmanship and a great move from Adam O'Brien, but a tough break. He kills the car just so that he can not bring out a yellow. Meanwhile, the 46 of Edwin James is going to be serving a black flag. We're watching Jeffrey Hyatt. The battle is really between Kendall Paul and Logan Edwards. This is 5th and 6th. Kendall is bidden to make his move back into the top 5. It took him roughly half the race, Sam, but he's almost back to where he started.
Perseverance, my friend. Perseverance.
Perseverance indeed. Meanwhile, you've got Jason Heaney and Justin Osterman. They're going after it hammer and tong. Osterman to the inside. He is going to... Did he clear him? He's got him. So Justin Osterman will make the move from 8th to 7th. Ryan O'Donoghue, who was involved in that latest fracas, he had hard contact to the front of that 14. He is back in a mess.
We've seen quite a few drivers that have checked out of the race for the evening. Keith Ayers, Joshua Siegfried, Adam O'Brien are now officially out of the event. So if you see their names dropping in the standings, you'll understand why.
Most.
But we're only down to 14 cars on the lead lap, and we're only halfway. This is halfway.
I was going to say, and we're watching the battle right around 10th. Ryan O'Donoghue is going to drop to the inside of Michael Kirk. He'll grab that 10th spot, and this is my favorite part of the race, Sam. We get to go from laps going up to laps going backwards. That's halfway here at the Blackmagic Studios Grand National Series event at Bristol. 150 laps to go. Greg Evans is your leader. We're watching Ryan O'Donoghue in 9th.
A lot of racing going on back here at the 10th spot. It is a madhouse back here.
Yeah, it's I know I say this at least once a week, Sam. If this ain't a mess, it'll do until the mess gets here. They were all over each other. They were all over each other earlier. Of course, and part of the
I don't know what it is, but this is what racers. Oh, there's contact. There's contact there between Michael Kirk and Keith Graham.
Yeah, and Keith Graham. The other part of this is Keith Graham is a lap down. He's getting passed by Eric Corder. Troy Carricker is coming up behind him. Now, Carricker is on fresher tires than the leaders, as is Ryan O'Donoghue, and that's one to keep an eye on. Ryan O'Donoghue pitted on that latest yellow. He's only got 13 laps on those Goodyear Eagles, and he may be looking to get
start making up some track position. As the field thins out, we will probably start looking at more green flag laps, and you will see drivers that may want to start trying to take chances at utilizing an extra set of tires here.
Yeah, and so you're absolutely right.
It's a smart move. It's a smart move.
We do have some people checking into the chat. James Hodgson says he's out after going to a concert, but he's going to have the signature forward-facing 88 back tomorrow night. So good to see you, James. JS Derby Cars wants to know why we don't do infield care center reviews. We do at some tracks. The cautions aren't long enough here at Bristol. By the time we do the replay, it's almost ready to get back to green, and so we don't want to take away from any of the green flag action on the racetrack. Alex Robinson says now Adam can come help out on his 600, his mini sprint, and Adam O'Brien says that his VR went blank for no reason. He doesn't know why, but he'll get it fixed and be back for tomorrow night.
Well, that makes perfect sense then. That makes perfect sense.
I mean, if he would have said that
it just seemed out of character for him to take that dive on the inside like that. But when a VR goes blank, and Michael Kirk loses on the front stretch. He keeps it off the racing surface. Now we have a caution.
Yeah, and I'll kind of talk about why we aren't able to do the infield care center interviews at this race here in just a moment. We're going to see what's befallen Michael Kirk here in the 54, and he was running along in that top 10. His car was relatively clean, and he, like so many others before him, it just gets loose coming off of turn 4 in that high groove, and he's going to spin down to the inside and smack the inside wall with the hard with the driver's side of that 54 machine. And so Michael Kirk is going to have significant damage from that. We're going to get back to green. We're going to get back to the lead on the field. It's Greg Evans. He's followed by Kyle Heath. Jeffrey Hyatt. You've got Brian Wasserman in 4th, and Logan Edwards continues to chug along right there in 5th position. Do want to thank all of the sponsors for the AMA Blackmagic Studios Grand National Series. Among those, you've got Archway Industrial Coatings, Admin Box, Track Racer, and Rogue Energy Drink. So do want to thank everybody who supports the American Motorsports Association. We are under caution just past halfway here at Bristol. 130 laps to go, or 38 to go, out of a scheduled 300.
Starting to see dusk fall here at Bristol Motor Speedway, which means the lights should be coming on here soon.
Yeah, and there you see it from the fisheye view.
And I'm really hoping that as we see the nightfall and the track temperature begins to change, even as we speak, we're 13 degrees lower on our track temp than what we were at the beginning of the race. And so now that the track temp begins to drop, I'm hoping that we'll start seeing a little bit more grip, and these drivers will be able to have a little bit more control at the back of the car.
Yeah, so to answer the question as to why we're not doing in-race interviews, by my watch, and that's courtesy of Mark the Watchman and the Joy of Driving, Tag Heuer has put the window for interviews at 1 minute and 40 seconds. So just not enough time tonight for us to do in-race interviews, but right, we do
Lights
them.
It back on the pace car. We're not going green this time. We are not going green.
And as you just heard, lights back on the pace car. Are they calling this the stage break, Sam?
I believe so, because Brian Sharp has extended the caution now, and we are in that window. So if that's the case, we're looking at probably 135 laps of give or take about 132, 133 laps to the finish of the race, and hopefully we're going to see some long green flag runs. We may be in the window where there may be a green flag stop if we went green from here, and I'm being optimistic. So here, did they?
Here we go. We're going to go back to green.
Leaders did not pit right there, did they?
Leaders did not pit. The first car that has pitted is Logan Edwards.
The stage break has not been read. Then I would be confident to say that if it were a stage break, that the leaders would have pitted.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And I would be
so they could finish the race on fuel and with fresh tires.
Now I would think that they can finish with fuel from here though, and so this could prove to be a boon. This could prove to be a boon for these cars right here, Ryan O'Donoghue, Logan Edwards, these guys.
Kendall Paul's just closed the pit lanes, so we're going to have a caution here within the next couple of laps.
There you go.
Well, if someone pitted on that last caution, they could really make up some track spots here.
Yeah, that's Logan Edwards, Ryan O'Donoghue, Troy Carricker. These are the cars that we're watching. Also, Dylan Godness, Joseph Klein made pit stops. So of the 14 cars on the lead lap, you've got 6 of them.
Out.
Yep, there's the stage break, second stage break. And so you've got now, you've got 6 cars that are going to be on tires that have 4 green flag laps. I would bet you, I will bet you a shiny new dime, Sam, that those 6 stay out on the racetrack here. And I don't think you're going to take that bet.
I'm sorry, I was listening to Kendall Paul, who was actually sharing some information to the field.
Very good. Do want to welcome Pinza Tompings to the chat. He says, "Go 86." That's Logan Edwards, and we're watching the 86 of Logan as he circulates here under the second stage break. Logan is in 8th position, although I would venture a guess. He stopped under that last yellow, so I would venture a guess as to I would venture a guess and say he's staying out. Ryan O'Donoghue, though, is going to come in, and O'Donoghue was one of those who did pit under that last yellow, so O'Donoghue going to come get him 4 more tires.
Well, if he just tops off for fuel here and keeps the tires, then he could beat all the leaders out. He would still be able to beat them out.
I guess that's true enough. But then again,
more fuel load will give you a little bit more weight to the rear of the car and help you.
No, and you're absolutely right. This being a fixed setup series, one of the only things that you can do other than adjust the angle at which you put on the steering wheel and the steering box itself is the fuel load, the weight in the back of the car, and
the brake bias.
And the brake bias. And look, other than the brake bias, which is a handling thing, and the car for O'Donoghue does go up on the jack, so he is going to take tires.
Yeah, the brake bias can be adjusted during the race.
It can be, but the only other adjustment you have during the race other than that is the fuel load. And so,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, you can see guys they'll put in differing amounts depending on how they want the car to behave. And look, that's all fair. That's all fair, and a lot of these drivers will have figured that out, Sam, before the race started during practice. Like if I get X amount of laps out of a tank, what happens if I put 12 gallons in it and have a fresh set of tires? Or what if I come in and get gas and go and need 25 laps of fuel or something? They're going to know all of that stuff beforehand, for sure.
What are we seeing here? I was just paying attention to some stats here, and what happened with Kyle Heath here? Where did Kyle Heath go?
Kyle Heath is currently in 15th.
He pitted behind Greg Evans, but
he is 1 lap down. I do not show a black flag for him. It does show that Kyle Heath was 48 seconds in his box.
Interesting.
And so that's one of two things.
Oh, are you going to say it or am I going to say it?
I'm going to say it. I would be willing to bet that Kyle Heath had to make a visit to the gentleman's room under that caution, and he lost a lap doing it.
Well, I remember back at the Martinsville race that Kyle ran so masterfully and did so well at and won the event. Was that one of the things that was really in discussion was that there were so many cautions, and he and Greg Evans were talking about the need to go to the restroom so badly. And I just
we got contact in the back
on the start. Oh no caution yet. Now we have a caution.
Now we have a caution, and that will
get Kyle Heath back on the lead lap.
It will. So I can tell you what happens here. Really simply put, Joseph Klein is a lap down. He pulls over to let everybody else go. He He knows he's damaged or down on power or whatever. So he's going to pull to the inside here. And then you're going to have...
Trevor Benz slows down a lot for that. And Michael Kirk gets right into the back of Trevor Benz.
He does. And so here's the shot. You can see the car lurch forward. It goes sideways. And bam, right into the side of poor Joseph
Did
Klein.
Joseph Klein catch? No, he didn't. Okay. I was concerned that he may have caught that pit road penalty sliding across there on the apron.
No, it appears as though the cone was safe. We'll go back and look. We can go back and look one more time for you, Sam. But I think...
Yeah, the cone actually is at the end of pit road, so I don't know that Joseph Klein would have been penalized right there.
Yeah, let's see if he... We can check that out, Sam.
Because he pulls down off the racetrack, and once Trevor Benz comes down and makes contact with him, I believe the cone comes into play, not the orange box.
Correct. It's the cone.
And so the cone at this particular track is if you look in the replay, you'll see at the end of the inside pit wall, there is a cone that sits right at the end of that. There's a green cone right there at the end. And I believe that is where the penalty mark is. So I don't know that Joseph Klein would have received any penalty there. And now Trevor Benz has checked out. He's taking his car behind the wall, and he is called in the night.
There you go.
Kyle Heath.
Heath
comes back. Not only does he relieve himself, but he
gets back.
And we're assuming here, but not only did he have that opportunity, but now he's back on the lead.
I've got this pause because I want to show the fans what we're talking about. I do not have a fancy telestrator like John Madden Godso does on his side of the broadcast when he does them. But that green cone right there is the end of pit road. And so iRacing has a penalty where if you get on pit lane as part of an accident before that green cone, you will get a penalty.
It's a unsafe pit entrance or unsafe pit exit.
Correct. Joseph Klein slid to the right of that cone, and so he is not going to be penalized. He really doesn't even lose all that much time. He's still one lap down. He is the only car one lap down. We go back to green flag action. Logan Edwards leads it, and he's going to have a wicked fast deuce. He's going to have a wicked fast deuce piloted by Greg Evans behind him.
Now you've got some cars that are really going to be jostling around here from fifth on back. A lot of racing that's been going on in those positions tonight.
Yes, sir, indeed. Kendall Paul has moved around Caleb Jones into that fifth position. Kendall Paul is going to be looking at Jeffrey Hyatt for fourth place here very shortly. Hyatt was one of those cars. He kind of gambled earlier, stayed out on some old tires, and that's worked out for him. He's managed to keep that track position, whereas some of the other cars that did that have not. Logan Edwards, though, is one that stopped under a previous caution. Very few green flag laps on his tires. He has been out 10 laps longer, but I believe 8 of those were under the yellow light. And so Logan Edwards does lead it. We're going to flop back to that. Well, maybe not. Kendall Paul has started the hornet's nest up because he's going to go to the outside of Hyatt. He's going to get in the wall. That's going to move him down in 32. Holy Moses, we've got cars everywhere.
Oh, and we're wrecking on the front stretch. Michael Kirk
involved. There were several others.
I believe Michael Kirk actually loses the car coming off of the corner again.
He does. He tags Colby Pierce.
He gets into the right rear of Colby Pierce, who comes back up in front of the racetrack.
Hard impact for the 35 of Corey Crandall. Caution is on the speedway. Brian Sharp narrowly avoids contact one more time, and so we do not.
Colby Pierce was barreling up through the field. He was trying to make up as many positions as he could. Corey Crandall, that could be terminal. That impact is tremendous right there on the front of the car.
Yes, it was. Let's go back and see what we can see for Corey Crandall. Yeah, and there you see the smoke out of the back. So that is definitely terminal damage. let's get on the roof, and we'll show you what it looks like to have an accident here at Bristol. And remember, this is 1/3 time, Sam. It is it is not. It is 1/3 time. So there's the initial contact. There's Colby Pierce spinning up in front of you, and just nowhere to go. Corey Crandall's going to try to get to the bottom, but the car of Colby Pierce comes back down in front. There's a hard impact, 2 hard impacts to the nose, and then Brian Sharp misses him by the thinnest of margins, but the smoke from under the hood tells the
Corey
tale
Crandall
there.
in that particular instance, you're hoping that the car will stay up there enough that you can get to the low side, but there's such a short amount of distance to make up there to get to the bottom and miss the car in front of you. It's incredibly hard to do so.
Most certainly so, Sam. Would like to thank all of the partners here.
And then he gets ran over by the pace car. How rude.
At least it's hollow, Sam. At least it's hollow. I would like to thank all of our sponsors here at the AMA, Archway Industrial Coatings, Admin Box, Track Racer, Rug Energy, and of course the title sponsor of the Black Magic Studios Grand National Series. That would be Black Magic Studios. And it's nice to see, the community support each other. We just got word. I got word from Fish, the guy that the gentleman that runs Admin Box. One Mike Rigney put in an order for one of those babies, and so it's good to see everybody in the community support each other for sure.
Mike Rigney will utilize that thing, and if I will tell you this, if Mike Rigney likes it, he will get the word out. And Mike Rigney has a lot of connections, and so if he enjoys something in the sim community and he can utilize it and he believes in the product, he will promote that product. It's just how Mike is. He's always been that way.
Very, 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 very true. I was joking with him. I said he's definitely going to enjoy the Mute Chat 69 feature that he gets hard coded into that admin box.
I saw where you said the mute button. So it's it may be worth looking into just for that, especially in official races.
me, I don't say much over the in race communications. I've learned my lesson.
I don't either.
I stay in Discord and tend to, if I need to vent, I vent with my.
Logan Edwards has decided he wants to race. He wants to race Greg Evans up here.
He has, but Evans with the fresher tires now has been able to get on by. The battling is going on one more time back here. 5th, 6th, 7th is where the action is. That's Jason Heaney in 5th. Kendale Paul once 5th, and Kyle Heath has already made his way back up to 8th, working to the inside of Caleb Jones. Car hard in the wall. That's Keith Graham. We're gonna have caution on the speedway. We saw that just in the background. Keith Graham is going to come off of turn number 2, and one more time, car high, car sideways, hard impact with the inside wall. Boom.
I have noticed here in the second half of the event, I have noticed that a lot of drivers are really starting to beat that second turn wall down. I don't know. The line has just gotten so narrow for them up there that they're missing it and pushing into the wall. But off at turn 2, I've been watching a lot of cars bounce off of that or get extremely loose to avoid hitting it. And that is hard contact by Keith Graham right there on the backstretch.
Yeah, you can see it.
In fact, the whole front left of the car is completely jammed up into the fender well on my end. So, I mean, that could very well be race-ending damage.
Well, as we saw on the broadcast from the roof of Greg Evans, there was smoke pouring from the hood in the rear of the 08 or the 09, excuse me. He does have the meatball. He must respect it. But when you see smoke like that in iRacing, that means in the words of the estimable David Hobbs, that one blowed up. Done blowed up.
Done load up.
And that's a broadcasting crew I so very dearly miss, near and dear to my heart. Back from the Speed Vision and Speed TV days, Bob Varsha, David Hobbs, and Greg Matchett doing the Formula One broadcasts. There was a very loyal group of us that used the Speed TV message boards back when those were a thing. You remember those? You remember those things, Sam?
A Speed Vision?
No, the internet message board. I'm dating myself now pretty badly.
Something that I did not utilize?
No, did you ever use them?
No, I did not.
So there was a group. So Speed Vision and then Speed TV had their own, had this message board. So pre-social media days, that was how you communicated with other people on the internet, right? And there was a group of us called the Legion of the Indecent, and every year we would travel to the United States Grand Prix. For many years, we stayed at the now defunct Motel 6 in Speedway, Indiana, and we would traipse out to the Grand Prix every day. Some great memories with those people. We went to many races at many different tracks over the years throughout the Midwest and Eastern Seaboard. But the broadcast crew would come to our party every Saturday night before the Grand Prix. Race begins one more time. Greg Evans, Logan Edwards, Justin Osterman are your top three. Those were fun days. I don't know if I could do that. The last one I went to, Sam, I worked overnight. And so I got off work at 8 a.m. Friday morning, drove to Indianapolis, partied for 3 days. I don't know that we slept. I had a motel room, and I don't know that I set foot in it.
Sounds like a high school graduation at the beach for me.
There was a motel room that had my name on it. I think Natalie stayed in it, but I don't recall ever having been in that room.
Ooh, Kendall Paul almost gets into the back of Jeffrey High off the two there.
Yes, he does. There's Kendall Paul, and he's working that high side. He gets around Jason Heaney, and he's going to go to work now on Jeffrey High.
Jeffrey High gets in the back of Osterman.
And there's Osterman.
Is trying to save it on the backstretch, and we will go under caution again.
Osterman tried to save that car. He fought.
He was loose. He was already loose going into one. He had already lost the back of the car and was already checking up. And Jeffrey Hyatt did not touch him much, but it was enough to help him come on around.
It was indeed, and here we are. We're watching it. Osterman's already sideways, and there's a little bit of contact there, but that car might have been going around regardless. Osterman.
Oh, yeah, there's no question Osterman was already in a precarious position. The car was
Yes, he was.
The car was already articulating out of shape a little bit. He was slowing down, trying to save it. He was already trying to save it.
Well, and because he'd been sideways for so long and scrubbed so much speed, he did not do the thing that caught out Keith Graham, which is slide all the way down and slam the inside wall and blow the car up. Justin Osterman is going to get away with that without damage, and I don't believe he lost a lap either, Sam.
No, I don't think so either. Anything that he received as far as contact in this particular instance, I don't think any of that is detrimental to the race car whatsoever. It was just a mere touch by Jeffrey High, and I don't know that he actually even touched the inside retaining wall or not. I don't think that he even touched it.
No, I think he'd scrubbed so much speed being sideways that he didn't have enough momentum to carry it down there and hit it. And so Justin,
he certainly would be wise to get some tires after that long slide.
Yeah, I believe the good is gone off of those things. But he has not yet come to pit road, and so Justin Osterman remains on the track. He scored in 12th position. We're going to get back to the front. Greg Evans leads it. The pace car leads it, followed by Greg Evans, and Evans is going to be scored first. Logan Edwards is second. Kendall Paul has now made it to third. So how about that? Jeffrey Hyatt fourth. There's Jeffrey. Jason Heaney fifth. And Kyle Heath, he has found relief, and he's made up his lap, and he's made it back to sixth, Sam.
It's amazing when you can relieve your bladder how much heavier your gas pedal foot is.
Usually it's when you're on the interstate, it's usually the opposite way around. The more full your bladder gets, the heavier your foot gets trying to find a place to pull over.
You can concentrate a little bit better in a race car.
There's a game that Natalie and I play on our trips down to the great state of Florida from northern Indiana as we head back to Green Flag Action. Sam, I will deliberately try to find deliberately try to find some of the finer gasoline stations in southern Georgia to stop at. Natalie really enjoys that.
The gas stations?
Oh, absolutely. It's a game we play, Sam.
Oh, is it? Oh, I see. Well, it just seems like everyone wants to go to Buc-ee's now. So,
Well, that's just it. Buc-ee's has upped the game. If you haven't been to a Buc-ee's, holy Moses, you're missing out. You could go on vacation just to Buc-ee's.
it is the Disney World of convenience stores. I mean, it really is.
You know, you're not too far off of the truth. And to be fair, my son is my 8-year-old was not wanting to go to bed, Sam. So he made himself a nest next to me calling the race, and he's covered himself with a Buc-ee's blanket that I was forced to buy Natalie on our most recent road trip because she was cold. We got a car around that's Mark Owlett
on the inside, but they get off the racetrack. That's Michael Owlett.
Yeah, that is Mark Owlett, rather. He is just get it on the pit road. Don't cause the caution now.
He really got it off of the racing service so quickly, and there was no caution there.
Meanwhile, Brian Sharp has brought
He is back on the racetrack now, though.
Yeah, Brian Sharp, meanwhile, has smoke pouring from the 125, and I believe these might be separate incidents. There's the incident with Sharp. Is
that going to constitute a song for us?
He pounded. I mean, he pounded the outside retaining wall. Owlett spun trying to avoid him, and unfortunately for Brian Sharp,
now, after getting up in the top 5, I'm just wondering what happened here on the restart. Kyle Heath was able to get up in the top 5. Trying to see what happened because now he's dropped back to 9th.
Yes, he has, and it could have been he got loose or something of that nature. But 86 to go.
Back at lap 211 here. He comes off the corner. Oh, I see what happened. Jeffrey Hyatt got loose coming off of 2. Kyle Heath was going below him, and just at the last moment they make contact, and that just caused Kyle Heath to take evasive measures and slow down. He was able to keep the car straight, and he lost several positions, but that it was back on lap 211 is what caused him to drop back in the field a little bit.
Yeah, and so we're looking at Kyle Heath. He has dropped back to 9th, working the underside of Joseph Klein, make that 8th. The smoke that you're seeing on the screen is not from the cars on the racetrack. The top, we're watching Kyle Heath. He is 8th. He's going to be looking at Jason Heaney here pretty shortly for 7th. He is the biggest mover on the track. Greg Evans leads it from Logan Edwards to Kendall Paul. Ryan O'Donohue is 4th. Jeffrey Hyatt 5th. Wasserman, Heaney, Heath, Klein, and Osterman round out your top 10. The remainder of the lead lap cars, Eric Quarter, Dylan Godness, Caleb Jones, and Troy Carricker. So 14 cars left on the lead lap. The smoke that you're seeing is from cars on pit lane. That is not necessarily anything that is has to do with anything on the racetrack. And we'll go ahead and show you the view, smoke streaming from the Brian Sharp machine as it's parked on pit lane, and that's drifting across the entrance to turn number 3. And so that's the reason that you're seeing the smoke.
I do want to apologize. Earlier, I had made the comment that there was so much cloud cover on the racetrack. I actually thought that dusk was falling at that particular time, and I thought nightfall was on us, and I was expecting the lights. But the sun came back out, put a little bit of sunshine on the racetrack, and now there's some cloud cover back in as well. So I am still seeing some cars reflecting some sun going into turn 1. So we're not quite to the point where we're going to have the lights come on yet, as we now have 75 laps remaining.
Now, I did pop the weather back up. It is 78 degrees on the track, but turns 1 and 2 really turn 2 entirely is completely in shadow now. So just kind of note that it is shadowed over there as we watch Kyle Heath. He's working on Jason Heaney. We're going to get inside of Kyle Heath's machine, And there's definitely a difference when you drive through those shadowed areas. Of course, it starts to shadow here at Bristol a lot earlier than most other tracks. Not only is there a mountain on one side of the joint, but the stands are so high that the sun, you can see it. It's still up. And it would still be up for a normal place. But here at Bristol,
if you're sitting on the front stretch, you actually see a lot of sun hitting the front stretch and a lot of turn one. You still see a lot of sun hitting that particular portion of the racetrack.
Right, but as we approach later in the afternoon, and not even really later in the afternoon, the sun is going to start shading the corners just simply because it's blocked and not because it's gone down. No need for the lights, though. Now, I was at Bristol once.
Evans not happy with Troy Carragher there. The lap car, Troy Carragher. He was catching Troy Carragher there on 227. Carragher, rather than just getting completely out of the way, he stayed in the race line, in the middle of the race line, and so Greg Evans wasn't happy in that particular instance.
No, and that's something that you always, that you have to be mindful of in the sim, Sam, just as much as you're mindful of it in real life. It's a short track. There's nowhere to hide, and when we start getting down into the later going, 69 laps to go, this thing could be over in 15 minutes, and tempers might start to get a little short. We've been at this now a little over 2 hours.
Yes, sir. After. Again, the futility of events like this in short track racing and this many laps, it can begin to wear on you mentally, especially when you have this many cautions and you're just wanting the race to come to its penultimate end, and it just doesn't seem anywhere in sight. You're ready to run some green flag laps, and you're concerned that what's the next thing that's going to bring out a caution, and it can unnerve you a little bit sometimes. It's just a matter of keeping focused and hoping that it'll work itself out.
It can indeed. And speaking of focus, how about this battle? We've got Jeffrey Hyatt fifth. Jason Heaney wants sixth. Brian Wasserman also wants that spot. They are being observed by Kyle Heath, who now runs along in eighth. But this is by far the best battle on the racetrack. The top five have pretty much strung out pretty well. Logan Edwards has dropped almost 2/3 to 3/4 of a second back. Kendale Paul's a couple of tenths behind him, half a second back to Ryan O'Donohue, but the fight is on for fifth.
Yeah, they're starting to spread out a little bit there. Wasserman is backed out of that particular fight. And now these cars, Joseph Klein and Michael Moquin has now gotten past him, and it put up this fight with Hyatt and Heaney and Kyle Heath. It should get sorted out here pretty quickly, I would think.
You would, and the thing is now, we're down to really 18 cars on the track. And so they've got room to spread out now. You don't have everybody on top of each other. The lap traffic is not nearly as bad as it once was. I mean, yes, it's still there. Hey, Colby.
Colby Paul now passes for second place.
Well, maybe. Logan Edwards is going to try to hold on there. But I don't think he's got the
much
top.
Of a fight there with Kendall on the top.
No.
That brings Ryan O'Donohue right back up into this fight as well.
Now, O'Donoghue's looking at a point stay. Remember, he's battling with Adam O'Brien for the final transfer spot. Adam O'Brien is out of this race, and he's going to finish in 22nd spot. Huge point stay on offer for Ryan O'Donohue if he can keep this thing moving in the right direction and try to solidify a championship playoff position on points. That would be huge. A little bit of a blink there from Troy Carragher on the bottom.
Well, sometimes old saying is one man's famine is another man's feast, and it could very well be the case between Adam O'Brien and Ryan O'Donohue in this particular case. trying to make up points so that you can get yourself solidly locked in to a playoff position.
Yes, sir. Now, Greg Evans, you see there, is in heavy traffic. Kendall Paul has started to reel him in. It had been as much as 0.8 of a second back to Logan Edwards when he ran second. Kendall Paul has chopped that down nearly in half. Greg Evans, though, is working through lap traffic. That is the 0.8 of Dylan Godness there. Godness runs along in 11th. So now we've got 10 cars on the lead lap. Kendall Paul trying to get around Dylan Godness. You've got, let's see, that's the 80 of Mark Owlett. He is 16th. Owlett is numerous laps down, 21.
Ooh, we about saw a big accident on 246. Troy Carragher was just trying to keep it on the bottom of the racetrack, and about the time that he was down there was when Jeffrey Hyatt was looking at making a big move on Kyle Heath. And then when he went to the bottom, there's Troy Carragher. And boy, you talk about almost causing a big accident.
Speaking of Kyle Heath, he has worked his way past Jason Heaney and Jeffrey Hyatt. So Heath is now 5th. His last time through, Kyle Heath was the fastest car on the Speedway, and it's been that way for about the last 4 or 5 laps. Ever since he made that pass, Kyle Heath has been coming. The issue for Heath is he's 3.5 seconds back, and at Bristol, that is a long, long way.
Oh, it's eternity. It is eternity. I would be interested in knowing what the lap times are between he and Greg Evans. If you have, well, I can get that.
I can tell you exactly. Last time,
the start-finish line this time at a 16.1.
Kyle Heath is going to come through 16.0.
He's coming through at a 16.075, so his pace is just as fast, if not faster, than Greg Evans, our leader.
Heath has consistently been anywhere between a tenth and a half a tenth. So half a tenth to a tenth quicker than Greg Evans. But that's the story is.
Is less than 50 laps enough time for him to make up that ground?
It's going to be an awful tall order.
Right. It would take a very heroic run in order to make up that much time in less than 50 laps.
It would indeed. We're going to flash back to the battle.
Greg Evans is now setting sail on Kendall Paul.
Yeah, Greg Evans is pulled back out. We mentioned that Kendall Paul had got it down to a half a second. As soon as Greg Evans must be watching the broadcast, because as soon as I said that, he stood in the gas and built it back up to a second and a half. Meanwhile, Kendall Paul has other problems, and those other problems are manifesting themselves in the form of Ryan O'Donoghue, who is pulled alongside the 78 machine now. Ryan O'Donoghue is going to make a charge for second.
And Ryan O'Donoghue could have very well been saving enough tire that he would be able to keep some pace here. His lap times are equal to the leader, and he's in a fight right now. He's actually racing for a position, and his lap times are just as good as the leader.
That is definitely quite true. We're also going to have a battle brewing between Kyle Heath and Logan Edwards. Kyle Heath has reeled in Edwards, and he's looking at that 4th spot. You're going to have the battle ahead of them. We'll get on the roll bar. We can watch both. Kendall Paul on the top ahead. Ryan O'Donoghue is on the bottom. That is the battle for second. 4th place, Logan Edwards rides ahead of Kyle Heath in 5th. You've got a lap car down there. Wisely going to get out of the way.
The 77 Eric Corder, he watches back up the racetrack. Let's see if he gets out of the way of these lead lap cars. He'll go to the top, and that's really the move that you want to make. You want to go to the top and allow these drivers to get by you on the bottom.
And that's so hard to do. All he wants to do is get out of the way. But there's, Bristol, there's not really anywhere you can hide.
No, there's not. And it seems like some of the drivers are getting a little testy with lap cars, but if you're Troy Carragher and you're just trying to keep it on the bottom the best that you can, or if you want to ride the top in the corners and allow the drivers to pass you on the bottom. Now, in my opinion, if you're a lap car and you're that much slow and your pace is that much off of what the lead lap cars are, then you may want to let those leaders know, hey, I'm going to be on the bottom when you get to me, or I'm going to be on the top when you get to me. It's it's just a courtesy sometimes to let those drivers know so that they can plan accordingly when they get to you, and they're not guessing where you're going to be when they get to the place where they have to pass you. Man, this battle for second between Ryan O'Donoghue and Kendall Paul, it was so heated that it's allowed Logan Edwards and Kyle Heath now to catch them, and now it's a 4-car fight for second place. Ooh, Logan Edwards into the wall almost off of 2.
Yeah, Kyle Heath has gotten by Logan Edwards.
And Kyle Heath is going to make short work of these guys. He's flying.
Yeah, he's immediately gotten through Ryan O'Donoghue and Logan Edwards, and you wonder just how much starch the battle with Kendall Paul took out of the tires for Ryan O'Donoghue, especially that right front being pinned down on the bottom like that.
You are so eager to get into the throttle when you're on the bottom here, and you want to equal that speed that the top line has coming off so that you can maintain position going into the next corner, and you just want to lay into the throttle, and it just abuses that right rear tire. And actually, in a lot of regards, you're oversteering as well, and you could use up a lot of the right front as well.
Yes, indeed.
Now, I do want to point out that Kyle Heath has made up a second and a half already.
Yeah, he's coming. Last time through, he was a full 10th and then some quicker than Greg Evans, and he is now all over Kendall Paul for that second spot. Kendall Paul's going to try to do the same thing he did to Ryan O'Donoghue to Kyle Heath and just keep him pinched down there. The problem is Kyle Heath is a lot quicker than Ryan O'Donoghue was and has better tires.
Oh, he got a little loose there. All 4.
Yes, he did. Now, the thing is,
Kendall Paul is a racer. He is not going to just move over and allow Kyle Heath to pass. He's going to race him for this spot.
Very true. And you got to remember also, Kyle Heath has been the yardstick for speed in the AMA since its inception, really. And so whenever you're around Kyle, you always tend to race him just a little bit harder on that basis alone. Kyle Heath gets through Kendall Paul, he'll get to second. So move Kyle Heath to second, Kendall Paul to third. Meanwhile, Logan Edwards takes a lurid slide down the front straight there. He'll make it through okay, saves the race car. Greg Evans has now lapped everybody up to 9th place, and he is looking at having Justin Osterman a lap down here, probably within the next 3 or 4 laps. Meanwhile, Logan Edwards and Ryan O'Donoghue are going to have at it. O'Donoghue gets past Edwards. I believe the tires on that number 86 are toast. He's been out on them 112 laps, Sam.
Wow. That's a lot of laps on those tires.
It is. You have to think maybe...
Now, being the veteran that Greg Evans is, this is just my logic, and I know how I would be. He jumped out to such a good lead where he had gotten, almost up to 4 seconds of a lead. If I'm jumping out to a lead like that, and knowing Greg and the veteran driver that he is, he sees that he has a cushion, so he could very well have backed off on his lap times, simply to save tire for the end of the race, so that if anyone pushed hard enough to catch him, he would still have tire left to make a big run in the last 10 laps.
Yeah, and look,
so
I mean...
that closing that we see, it could actually be that Greg is consciously trying to save enough tire.
He's running to a pace, and we're seeing that.
Yeah, exactly.
We're seeing that in the lap times now.
It's not about pulling away from the field and just getting this big margin of victory. It's about, I've got a big lead. Now what can I do to save tire for the end of this race?
Yeah, I mean, and I was just going to say, look, I mean, Greg Evans is working traffic, and Kyle Heath had been catching him consistently 1/10 to 2/10 a lap.
Right. Now Kyle has gone to the top to get around lap cars.
Well, they had just about equalized 5 laps ago. Greg Evans, even though he is working around Justin Osterman, you see it there on your screen, even though Greg Evans is also working lap traffic, Greg Evans, they equalized about 5 laps ago. Greg Evans has been faster the last couple of times through. And if Kyle
During
Heath,
that last 20-lap run, so it could very well be the case that Kyle's using as much car as he can to make it up to the front, and Greg pulls out to enough of a lead that he's saving enough car for the last 10, 20 laps.
that is quite true. But the other issue is, Greg Evans gets in the lap traffic, backs up a little bit, lap times fall off, he gets in clean air. Kyle Heath arrives at that same traffic and loses it all again. And so, that's another thing you got to kind of consider. Greg Evans right now has clean racetrack. The next car ahead of him is almost a full straightaway, and that is the number 7 of Joseph Klein. Klein is running the top, and so I would assume that Joseph Klein is not going to be much of a hindrance, but there aren't any other cars on the side of the racetrack that Greg Evans is on. You can kind of see it. He's going to be entering turn 3 now. And other than Klein,
Kyle Heath has nothing to lose to push this car as hard as he can push it. He has nothing to lose.
Yeah, and just as we had talked about the lap times equaling and going back into Greg Evans' favor.
Osterman comes right up in his race line. Oh, and Kyle Heath is not happy about that.
Yeah,
Osterman came right up in front of him as he's getting that big run off of the corner. Wow, that was really close.
And I had just gone to make mention. I had just gone to make mention of the fact, and we're going to watch this replay because I would surmise that Kyle Heath is not a happy camper in that lucky number 13.
He would not be very happy at all. He is catching Greg Evans. He is down to 1.2 seconds, and we are 10 laps to go in this race.
Yes, he is. There's Osterman. He comes off and just right in front of Kyle Heath. He swerves back away, but that probably cost Kyle Heath a 10th.
Like 1 or 2 tenths, exactly.
We're going to get on board
He's in Groundhog Day mode right now. He's driving angry. He is driving this car for everything he can drive it.
We're riding on the roof. He's touching the wall basically at every corner entry. He's almost getting a Darlington style, old school Darlington style stripe at some places, just where he goes up and kisses it. Just playing a little bit of Karen Pool.
Turns 2 and turns 4 off. He's cutting the corners off on exit so that he can get as much throttle and as much run as he can get off that top line. So he'll go all the way to the wall. Oh, and he catches the wall there in 3 and 4. But then he turns the car hard down the racetrack as he comes off the corner so that he can give it more throttle and less steering wheel, and that helps you get more run off that high side.
So he learned. Now
we see Greg Evans is watching, and he sees this, and now Greg Evans has gone to the top to do the same thing.
Yes,
and all of this is designed in order to keep Kyle Heath to take air off the nose of Kyle Heath's car if he can. Once Kyle Heath, he knows that he's looking and sees that may be why he's closing so much on him. So he moves up the racetrack in order to take that line away from Kyle Heath, and he's going to have to earn it when he gets to Greg Evans here.
He most certainly is. There are the 2 leaders. They are in the same picture frame, and it's the first time in a long while that Greg Evans has had somebody in close attendance. Very close. 4 to go. Looking back from Greg Evans to
and now we have Dylan Godinez and Michael Allett. Godinez, he's just no! Greg Evans gets loose. Godinez tells the leaders, "I'm staying high." Greg comes off of 4 and gets incredibly loose. And now Kyle Heath has gone to the bottom, but he may have used up too much tire to run that bottom.
Yeah, he went down there.
Now we have 2 laps to go. 2 laps. There's still 1 more car ahead of the leaders here.
That's going to be Mark Allett. Allett is staying toward the bottom of the speedway. White flag is out. This is the final lap.
He's on the bottom. We're on the final lap. He is still in play here. He's going to hold the bottom, and the leader's going to take the top side. Kyle Heath is just not going to have enough time as Greg Evans comes and takes the checker flag.
Whew. My goodness gracious. Another barn burner at the end.
Kyle Heath tells him, I was coming. Kyle Heath lets him know I was coming. Greg Evans told him, he said, I just used my right rear completely up.
I think they both used it all up, but they.
I think they did.
Absolutely. Greg Evans, he's going to come home with a win tonight. Kyle Heath is going to be second. Ryan O'Donohue is going to round out the podium. Kendall Paul and Jason Heaney, well-earned top fives for them. Logan Edwards continues a fine run here in the AMA. He's going to finish sixth. Jeffrey Height, Joseph Klein, Justin Osterman, and Dylan Godnez round out your top 10. In 11th, Eric Porter, Troy Carricker, Michael Moquin, Edwin James, Mark Owlett. They're going to round out the top 15, and they were the only finishers. Brian Wasserman, Caleb Jones, Brian Sharp, Michael Kirk, and Keith Graham will be the remainder of the front 20. In 21st, Colby Pierce, Adam O'Brien 22nd, Nolan Mills 23rd, then Joshua Siegfried and Keith Ayers. Corey Crandall is going to finish 26th, Donald Green 27th, Trevor Benz, Mark Cofield, and Brandon Bernier will be at 27th through 30th. Credited with 31st, Braden Langley, Sean Merriman 22nd, Ted Craven was the first car out tonight. He was 33rd. Lee Campbell and John Hutchins joined the lobby, but did not make a lap.
Well, we did get a long green flag run in there at the end.
Whew. We did indeed.
And Kyle Heath was determined he was going to try and make a show of it.
You know, he did. And that's the fun thing about this series, Sam. You've got some great drivers, and it was almost like the end there was in rubber band mode. You know it. We've got the replays queued up, and let's see who we've got in the waiting room. How about Ryan O'Donohue? Ryan, you've got Mark and Sam in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
10-4, I got you, boys.
Well, it's another paint scheme and another familiar result. You come home third. You had your trials and tribulations. I counted one accident, I believe. There might have been two. But you managed to use some well-timed pit strategy to get back to the front, and then you were able to stay there. Tell us about your drive back through the field.
Yeah, that was an adventure. I need a beer.
You know, I think I might buy you one.
10-4, I'll take all I can get right now. That was a blast. I've never driven that hard in this sim. I mean, that final run to go green, I didn't think we were going to have the tires once I saw Kyle laying back, and I got past, who was that, Logan, and I was fighting with Kendall just a little too long, I think, and they got back to me. But when I moved to the top, I hadn't been there all night, but man, I went as hard as I could there, and I'm sweating, man.
I was just kind of curious, Ryan. Great run tonight. I'm interested to know a little bit more about this is a sponsor I haven't seen on your car, Maxima Oil. And so I'm interested to know about that. But also, can you mentioned it just for just a moment, but can you just give us a little mindset when Kendall was not going to move over. I mean, he was going to race you for the spot. So what's going through your mind right there where you are just trying so hard to make that pass, but you know that the cars behind you could very well be closing in on you?
Yeah, I could see him getting bigger in my mirror. I was hoping I could clear him. Maybe a lap car would set a pick, and you just couldn't make the bottom work right there. The way the tires were, as hard as I was pushing, I didn't save anything there. I was full tilt from the drop of the green on that last run. So
did you feel like changing the line with the used tires was going to help you maybe to catch the leaders if we have more laps?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I would have got them, but for sure, changing the line definitely did the job. Yeah, I wasn't sure that it was going to for me in particular, just because I hadn't done it all night. Wasn't sure what the end result of that was going to be, but dang, we made it work. I am, like I said, I'm sweating, man. I haven't driven on this hard in this sim before. That was a great battle with Kendall.
It was a good race to
awesome
watch
to
there.
see
You
it
guys
go
battling
green.
so hard, yeah.
It was cool to have that long green flag run too. I wasn't expecting it, and then I kept glancing at the laps. I'm like, man, we're 50 to go, 30 to go. Now it's just please stay green because I think we can hold on to this thing.
You had a great run tonight.
Yes, sir. You most
Yeah,
certainly
10-4.
You most certainly did, Ryan. And because of that great run, the mic is yours. Friends, family, sponsors, shout outs. You got him, my man.
First of all, my girlfriend, 'cause she just brought me a beer, so I'm excited about that. Matt Surgical Supplies on a car, but yeah, Maxima Oils is I race dirt bikes, and I use a lot of their products, and it smells good, it looks good. I came up with another one for this week and just ran that. AMA, man, this week's so fun. Kendall, that was a hell of a battle. Congrats to Greg Evans, 4 in a row. I don't know what we got to do to beat this guy, but we'll figure it out one of these days. Kyle had a good run there too. I knew I kind of had to let him by just to make what my plan work. But Heat Wave, like always, they're on there somewhere. All the admins too with Kendall, all their partners, Archway and Black Magic and Track Racer. I got a nice rig under me with them. Rogue Energy, admin box, and you guys up in the booth. You guys put on a show, and I'm about to go watch this one for sure.
Well, thank you so much for tuning it in after the race is over. Thank you so much for being in it. Keep going fast, having fun, Ryan. I'll see you on Monday.
10-4. I don't know if I'm gonna make that one. I got a work conference to go to, but
Oh, come
I'll
on.
be out there eventually.
Milwaukee is fun, man.
I know I'm disappointed about that one, but yeah, I'll get back in there. We'll run some races, but right. I'm 2 for 2 beating you, so.
The challenge has been laid from Ryan O'Donohue. We're going to go ahead and grab Kyle Heath. Kyle, you got Mark and Sam in the P1 broadcasting booth. So the question is, you lost a lap in a pit stop. Was it were you in need of relief, or was that something else?
Ding, 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 ding.
So you drive it back.
I'm sure that was going to be a number one question. I knew it.
So
it wasn't a question for me, Kyle. I knew exactly what was going on.
I will tell you this, though.
I had to bring it to attention, so I apologize.
Those early cautions early in the race, throughout the first quarter race, that did me in because caution flag. I'm sitting there running around, pacing my lap, and I was able to put a few down. And I just couldn't. I just I had to go.
It's I'll tell you where you were going. You were going to the front. You got your lap back, Kyle, and the charge was on. How many more laps do you think you would have needed to have gotten there? And if you got there, do you think you could have made the pass?
Probably not, because once when he seen me catching him, Greg, he seen me running the high line. He moved up to the high line, and that's whenever things kind of got stalemate. Whenever that happened. The only way I could really probably get around him was wait for him to make a mistake or, use a little bit of the chrome horn. And that probably would have come into effect is, using the chrome horn just to get around somebody, but not wreck them, but, rattle the cage a little bit.
I heard each of you giving each other a little credit there at the end of the race, and he had made the comment that he had he completely used up the right rear apparently, and so you were definitely in his head. There's no two ways around it.
Yeah, I was trying to take it easy, but I had some cars I had to pass, and a couple of times I was able to get around some positions from lap cars, and I was able to run the high line to get a good run, and trying to get around Kendall in the closing laps, he was running the high line, and of course I was running the bottom line. All I could do was wait for him to make a mistake or, do something drastic. And I burnt up a little of my stuff trying to get around him because I was really dogging it down in the bottom. But once I was able to get around him, I was smooth sailing, and then I think I passed a lap car up high, and one of the guys told me that I just gained a half a second on the leader just by doing that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay on the high line then. But
Yeah,
I
well, I would be amiss if I didn't actually ask you. There in the closing laps, you found a rhythm. You're on that high side. You're chopping off your exit corners. You're really getting a lot of throttle coming off those corners, and you come off of 2, and the 53 comes
oh my
up in your
lord,
racing line.
oh
So,
my
can you give
lord.
us a little insight? What's going through your head right there?
Well, what I should have done went ahead and just punted him out the way because closing laps, your lap car, get out of the leader's way. That's basically it. Why are you going to run the line that they're running? But I was a nice guy, and I had to back off a little bit. And I think that kind of might have did me in to be able to have that good run to catch Greg. But other than that, you know,
It was a
lap.
scary moment for sure.
Yes, it was. Whenever you're lap down and you're that slow, try to get out the leader's way.
Sure.
Don't don't do that.
Well, it's a great run tonight, Kyle. Again, you guys have proved that you've got great equipment there where you're at, and of course the skill of the driver makes all that happen. And so, great run tonight.
Thank you.
And because you're such a great driver and you know the drill, Kyle, friends, family, sponsors, shout outs, the floor is yours.
I give a big shout out to the broadcast team, AMA, and all my crewmates out there, teammates out there at FGR. And I got to thank Bush for allowing me to take my normal halftime pit stop.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle, for joining us. Keep going fast, having fun, brother. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. That is Kyle
Great
Heath.
job, Kyle.
That is Kyle Heath, and we're going to get to the man of the hour, Greg Evans. Greg, I'm shocked that we're talking to you at the end of this one. And I'm also shocked that there's gambling going on in most casinos. Tell us about your run tonight. You were at the front for most of it. There were a couple of times you got shoveled back on pit stops. But what made the difference? You jumped out to a huge lead in about the middle of that final run. And then when Kyle Heath started catching you, what were you thinking?
You don't want to know what I was thinking. I can't say it on the broadcast, but hey man, we just kept getting cautions, and really wasn't able to get into a long green flag run. So that last run there, I kind of took off a lot harder than I wanted to, and was just trying to keep the lead. I never thought that we was going to get like a 80 lap or 90 lap green flag run there. So I used my tires up trying to stay ahead of the 86, and then whenever he kind of fell off, I started backing up a little bit, and I just trying to maintain like a second and a half, 2-second lead. And I kept thinking, we're going to get a caution around like 55, 60 to go. And then I thought, well, surely we'll get one around 40, and then, 30. And at that point, I was still thinking, if we get a caution here, I'm going to pit. But yeah, it just never came. And then all of a sudden, Kyle got in a second, and when I really tried to get onto it to try to maintain that lead, their right rear was just pretty much gone, and it was really loose. And tried to see what lines he was taking, but you're also trying to navigate lap traffic, and yeah, it was just a battle.
Greg, I was just more inclined to watching the race unfold. I kind of thought the same thing, that once you got to a big lead, that you were probably thinking about, okay, I know Kyle is still back there, and I know there's some fast drivers behind me. If I get out to too big of a lead here, I may use up too much of my stuff. But also, the same question is for you. I noticed at one point of there was one particular juncture of the race where you had a little trouble with a back marker as well, just trying to make your way up through traffic, especially on that long green flag run at the end of the race. Just give us a little insight about where your mind is when you're catching back markers and in the worst of places, and knowing that you have to conserve tire and pay close attention to how you finish this race, not just in the middle of those big runs, those long runs, but at the end of those long runs.
Yeah, it's like playing chess. I mean, especially at high speeds. I mean, we're getting around here at 15 seconds, and you're almost getting dizzy. The hard part is whenever you're catching somebody and then they change their line to try to mimic you, or they do something out of the ordinary. Because when you're leading the race, you're really trying to play off the guy that you're catching, to know where to go, especially at Bristol. I don't mind running high. I don't mind running low. I don't mind running the middle line. But when you got a guy who's running the top line and then run the bottom line, then run the top line, then run the bottom line, then you just you catch them at that weird angle or a weird spot on the racetrack, and you can lose half a second. It happened to me with the '08 there at the end. I didn't really know which direction he was going, and at the last second from off the corner, he kind of pulled up in front of me, and I had to check up, and I honestly about spun out because of it. But man, it's I think being the leader, you just want those guys to run a consistent line and let you make those moves. But like I said, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, you're trying to see what they're going to do, trying to be proactive, trying to guess what they're going to do, and then especially when guys don't do what you kind of expect them to do or what you think they're going to do, it can really throw your pace off.
Well, it was a masterful job of driving again tonight, Greg. Of course, starting on the pole and leading the most laps tonight is always a great thing to hang your hat on. But there's nothing that has as much satisfaction as knowing that when you get to the end of a war like tonight is that you get the checker flag. So great job tonight, and once again you're proving that if they're going to win a championship in the AMA Grand National Series, they're going to have to come through you to get it.
Well, it's a long season. I mean, we've just been on a hot streak here lately. The first couple of races, we struggled, trying to figure out everybody, and then the thing about it is when you're racing with the same guys every week, whether you're finished second or third or fourth, even winning, you're constantly learning from other guys. So I really expect these guys to really close those gaps in the next couple of weeks, and it's not going to get any easier, that's for sure.
Well, I tell you what, you're certainly making it look easy right now, Greg. And because you're making it look easy, you get the microphone. Friends, family, sponsors, shout-outs. You're up, my man. The floor is yours.
Appreciate it, guys. Like I said, thank you guys for broadcasting. Thank Kendall and all his staff for hosting. It's been a lot of fun so far, and hopefully it continues. And thank Sim Labs, Sim Magic, Freightliner, and my wife, I guess, for giving me one night a week to come race and have fun. And we'll see if we can keep this going and go take a potty break again.
Good deal, Greg. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. Keep going fast and having fun, buddy.
All right, sir. I'll see you guys.
Great job tonight, Greg.
Yeah. And just a little hint. Maybe I think in May we got a week off from here. I've been talking to Mike Rigney. I might try my hand at the IndyCar eventually on Monday nights.
I'll tell you what, my friend, we are excited. We are excited about that. Looking at the schedule, there's a 500-kilometer race on May 19th that you might want to circle. That'll be a good time. But thank you so much for stopping in. Thank you so much for everything that you do. And like I said, keep going fast and having fun, buddy.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
Greg. Congratulations.
That is Greg Evans. He's going to be the winner. And the more the track changes, the more the setting changes, the weather changes, the cautions change, the more things stay the same. Sam, Greg Evans once again pulls his car into victory lane.
It's really proved to me what you see in instances like this, Mark, and you would know this because watching you race over time, knowing that you have great speed in the Indy cars and the races that you race in, a lot of times you want to get up front and you want to try to stay up front. If you can do that, then you can preserve the car enough to be there in the running at the end. And Greg has proved, as well as several other drivers, that's why you're seeing drivers like Ryan O'Donoghue and Kendall Paul and Kyle Heath. The reason you see these drivers finishing good week in and week out is because they want to get up front, they want to preserve the car, and they want to maintain that lead run. And you do that in the races that I've seen you race, and this is why you see drivers like we see Cream rise to the top in this particular instance. If you find yourself falling back mid-pack or in the back of the field, you have to be so much more cautious. You have to be really on top of the wheel to avoid a lot of the incidences that may happen, and try to preserve yourself with a good finish to get up there. But a lot of these drivers that have good finishes are starting there and they stay there.
You know, they most certainly do. And you hit the nail right on the head. If you looked at, if you looked at the cars for Greg Evans and Kyle Heath, they were the only two tonight that really didn't have a mark on them. They weren't involved in anything. They didn't hit anything. There was no damage to either one of those automobiles. And I bet if you took a close up at Greg Evans' car, it didn't have a scratch on it. And that's really how you need to run these races. And you hit it. The safest place to be a lot of the time is right on out front. Speaking of the place to be, the P1 Broadcasting Network is the place to be for the remainder of this first half of the AMA Blackmagic Studios Grand National Series Championship. Next week, we're going to be at Rockingham. And Sam, if we thought Darlington chewed up tires, they're in for a treat when they get to Rockingham. I believe those babies lose grip as soon as you roll them off the truck.
Well, when the lug wrench leaves the last nut, there's 10% tire wear on the car.
It most certainly does. After Rockingham, they didn't get any easier. We go to Talladega on April 24th, and May the 1st ends a 12-week stretch with the Texas Motor Speedway. And then Sam and I, mercifully, will get a Thursday off. Speaking of days off, we don't get one of those. Tomorrow night, we're going to be right back here at Bristol for the Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series that'll be run here on the P1 Broadcasting Network. Sam and I will have the call. 8:20 p.m. is the start time for that one. Other events here on the P1 Broadcasting Network upcoming. We do have on Sunday night the finale of the Votive Racing Series. Well, excuse me. Saturday. Not tomorrow. It's going to be Saturday. The IndyCar iRacing Series will have its annual round for Long Beach. You can catch that at 2 o'clock Eastern on Sunday. 7:50 for the Votive IndyCar Oval Finale. IndyCar Series Finale. That's going to be at Indianapolis. Sam, you can watch me fail miserably in attempting to chase down Kyle Clinworth and Edson Santos in that race. We're going to be at Portland Monday night. Clindy and I, 8 o'clock, will be on the call for the IndyCar Open Series Top Split, and then immediately followed by the Sim Gaming Expo ISRA Open Wheel Series from Milwaukee. That'll be at 9:35. On Tuesday, we're going to have a double header. Gary loves doing the double headers. Whenever we go to the meme races, as he calls it, that would be Atlanta, Daytona, Talladega. Gary does 2 for the price of 1 with a little bit of a podcast in the middle. That's going to happen Tuesday night, 8:15 Eastern. On Wednesday, you've got the Horizon IndyCar Series from Old Atlanta. And then Sam and I are going to be right back here, same time, same bad channel, 8:20 p.m. for the Archway for the Blackmagic Studios Grand National Series from Rockingham. For everybody at the P1 Broadcasting Network, Mark Murphy, Sam Crow, our founder Gary Godso, we would like to thank all of the competitors, all of our fans, all of our sponsors, Whiplash SimCams, for the views. If you haven't done so, remember, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, help us out in our drive for 1,000. And we would also like to thank all the first responders out there, the police, the fire, the military, the paramedics, all the people that do the hard work in the middle of the night so that we can stay safe and sleep safely in our beds. We salute you, Sam.
It's been a pleasure, Mark, as always. Let's catch our breath, reload, and hope for the best tomorrow night.
Absolutely. I will see you in 21 hours, brother.
Yes, sir. Rest well. Good night, everybody.
Good night from Bristol.